Yeah,
You okay with that?
yeah.
Uh, Typhon,
I'll play at some point.
the
See, I don't even know who
the
that
fa-
is.
the father of all monsters.
Ooh, scary.
Um, he the moment you go in, he screams and destroys his health bar. So you have no idea what's his health the entire time.
Shit, man. Who is that? You said he's the god of all monsters. Yeah, I've never heard of him.
Or or like the father, like he's not even a god, he's just a monster and like not even like Kronos himself can't beat Typhon like single-handedly. And the whole reason like the gods aren't like going into the underworld is because they're all ganging up on Typhon.
Oh, they're all trying to like stop him.
Yeah.
What is Melanie
Except
gonna do?
shit. I
Her
mean,
best.
she's there. And fuck, she's doing it.
Eight times
Because every time
apparently.
you kill him, you don't actually kill him. What happens is since he's at the very top of Olympus, you sort of like knock him down all the way to the bottom and then he just climbs back up every time. That's like the story. So
Oh my god.
we don't have a way to permanently killing him or Kronos until they release, I guess, the full
The
game.
next, yeah.
Whenever the like entropy thing item we could get.
I heard that game is coming to Switch 2. I really hope it's not a Switch 2 exclusive.
What, Hades 2?
Yeah,
No, it's on I mean I'm playing it on PC.
it's on PC only now, but it's supposed to come to consoles, and I heard it's gonna be a Switch 2 title. I just hope it's not only on Switch 2.
Nah, I doubt it. They wouldn't have released it on PC if it was only on the Switch too. Like the Pokemon or
Oh, I guess
Mario
what I'm
games.
saying is I hope it's on, like, when it
Like
comes
other
to consoles,
consoles.
it's on Switch 2 as well as Switch 1, so I can play it. Because I don't
Mm,
plan on getting a Switch 2 unless I'm given a reason, a compelling reason, like Smash Bros.
for me, it all depends on Pokemon.
Really?
I would probably get Switch 2 for Pokemon ZA, but
I don't think that game's
not.
gonna be a Switch 2 exclusive.
It better not be.
I think it's gonna be
I
a
might.
launch title, but not a
I
Switch
might.
2 exclusive.
I might have to pirate it if it is. Trust.
I might have to cop. So you're definitely getting that game then.
Yes. Yes, definitely. Because I loved Legends Arceus, and I'm liking what they're doing right now. Like in terms of like the combat that I saw, like how it's more like the shell. Like you could like the Pokemon can physically dodge attacks and stuff now,
Dude, I've
which is
been
going to be
waiting for
interesting.
them to implement that for ages. I see them do it in the anime all the time. I'm like, why can't you do that in the games?
Exactly.
I have a confession to make.
Yes.
I started recording.
this is this is just a perfect test.
Yeah, but
Perfect little intro.
no, I mean I started recording like we're live. This is the episode.
Oh, like you just started right now.
No, no, they heard all the stuff about the
All of it.
Switch and Hades.
Ah. Great.
It's okay. It's a nice little preamble. Hello everyone, we're back. This is what a story. So we actually recorded this episode last week. This time last week. Um and all of Steven's audio got scrambled, like gone, reduced to atoms. So I was fiddling around with it in like Audacity and Vegas and stuff, trying to see if there was anything I can do. Um, Unfortunately, I was unable to recover the lost audio. So what it was Jover. I had to scrap it.
So
So we're here. We're back to give it another go.
round two.
And if it doesn't work this time, I guess somebody doesn't want us to cover the latter half of Epic. Um, I've given it a couple test runs. Everything seems to be in working order. So we're just gonna go for it, and hopefully, I was in a lot of rage, but I had the proper counseling, and I've come around to the idea that maybe it'll be better this time, cause there's some stuff could have gone over that I didn't, and now we planned it better, and there's a bunch of new content we can discuss, and now that we sort of know what our perspectives are on a lot of things, we can kind of expedite this almost. Maybe.
Hopefully.
We're gonna talk about cut songs this time. I have some cut songs in the old playlist, so
Ooh.
yeah, we can add a whole new layer of discussion. But first, we have to pay our respects to a character that I feel we did not give his proper due the first time, and that is Elpenor.
Mmm. Alpino.
Yes, we like the crew. We treated him as an afterthought, and I very much regret that. So I'd like to give him his proper due this time. Let me put it up on screen. Here he is, on top of Circe's palace. Yeah, and Gigi's animatic for there are other ways you can actually see him up on the roof. But this is no laughing matter, because what happened was, after he was doing his song and dance, apparently the guys warned him not to dance on top of the roof, and he did anyway. So that's kind of his fault, but he tragically fell off the roof and broke his neck. And there is actually, is this a cut song? Do you know if this is a cut song or this is
Oh,
a cut part of Underworld where they talk to him?
it, I know what you're talking about. I can't see the screen, but I've seen the video. It's a like cut portion of the Underworld song.
I
Like it
wonder
wasn't
why
going to
they
be its
cut
own
it.
song. I feel like part of it is we've never got introduced to Elpenor earlier in the album, in the musical. So having this section of like this new in quotations crew member that we like hear of the first time, like, oh, no one like cared about me, like I feel like that would be, I guess, odd.
Yeah, I can see why like it'd be like awkward to introduce us to this character here and now and like this. Maybe it's like a tonal thing too, because we wouldn't know whether this is supposed to be like funny or not. I mean, Gigi uploaded this on April Fool's Day, and the guys are literally rowing away as he's talking about how he died and nobody noticed or cared. Um, but not us. We take this very seriously on Haters Without a Cause, Forgotten Characters. So, moment of silence for Elpenor. Anyway, um, our next. Damn, I can't believe I'm about to talk about suffering for the third time. But it's okay, because me and Steven actually talked about it. We are switching roles this time. He is going to do the plot stuff, and I'm going to chime in with stuff about the lore. So it's going to be much easier on me this time. Go ahead, Steven, take it away.
Let me sorry, let me open up the lyrics here.
I'm kidding, I'm kidding. We can tag team it if you want.
Because I don't mind explaining what happened in Suffering. The interesting part about Suffering, though, Suffering different beats. While Jorge was coming up with like the songs, and like he released the titles beforehand, but he kept both suffering and different beasts or newbie different beasts hidden. Like he didn't want to reveal it until the albums came out because it's sort of like his original like take on, I guess, the scene.
Yeah.
Like how when it opens up. So you know what, I'm gonna jump in. I'm gonna explain it.
Go for
So
it.
you know, suffering opens up with Penelope, Odysseus's wife, and this is like the first time like we hear her, and she's speaking, you know, don't you miss me? And Odysseus says, more than you know. And she replies, then jump in the water and kiss me. And Odysseus says, you know, I'm afraid of the water. And that is interesting because, you know, he's this sailor. He's been sailing for years. So he's afraid of water all of a sudden. And so throughout the song, Penelope's trying to convince Odysseus to jump in the water, to that it's safe and sound to come play with her and their daughter. And that's a little red flag, daughter. And you're wondering, didn't Odysseus have a son? Anyways,
I was gonna say this flew
oh,
over my head the first time because I knew he had a son, but I didn't. I guess I didn't know he didn't also have a daughter. So I was like, okay.
I feel when I first heard it, I was like, I first thought this was a like flashback. Like we're seeing Odysseus back at his, you know,
Oh
kingdom.
yeah.
He's talking to Penelope. But then the moment I hear daughter, I'm like, wait a minute. He doesn't have a daughter. What's going on? And I feel like this is what Jorge wanted to like show, like something is not right. And so they go back and forth of trying to convince each other to either jump in the water and that, you know, I don't want to, until Odysseus says, okay, I'll jump, but only if you answer a question or two. And Penelope says, of course. Odysseus asks that, you know, if he was on the run or hiding from someone, maybe Poseidon, how,
Mm.
and he's like blocking the way home with waves and storms, how would he get home? How can he evade Poseidon? And Penelope, in quotations, tells him that Poseidon will chase him anywhere except the lair of Scylla, which shocks Odysseus because, you know, there's a price to pay to enter Scylla's lair. And but it's the only way he has to go. So since telling him, Penelope says, now jump in the water. You know, I already told you. And he keeps going like, you know, he's too shy. He's too scared that, you know, he would die for her, but can't she let him stay dry? And this song immediately jumps into different beasts, but we'll get to that in a second.
I want to talk about the lyrics for a second. I really like the lyric. The siren, she's constantly saying, "I will take the suffering from you." It's it's one of those. It's that neat little that double layer, that double entendre, because it can be interpreted to mean like I will ease your pain, but it can also mean like I will end you. I'll end your suffering in a different way. It reminds me of in Puppeteer when Cersei's like, "I got you. Don't worry. Cersei's got you now."
Yes, where she's acting like this, you know, motherly figure that she'll like protect them from the horrors of the world, but at the same time, like she's captured them.
She's like, "I got you in my clutches." Loads going on in this particular track in terms of music and motifs. Penelope's signature instrument is a viola, so if you're in the know about this sort of thing, you could pick up right away that this isn't actually her, because her instrument is nowhere to be found. It's like piano and like synth. Uh, According to Mr. Jalapeno, that's not racist. That's his nickname, his official nickname. People call him that. He's okay with it. Um, I always like seeing different media's like interpretations of mythical creatures, like sirens. Um, it's worth pointing out this is a siren. This is not actually Penelope. She's trying to lure him, and he says that a siren song needs to reach their victims' ears fully so they can collect their memories and thoughts and use them against them. But there is a soft percussion used throughout this song instead of the viola, and the percussion is associated with polities. The siren is picking up that Odysseus really cares about someone, just the wrong person. It's a very there's a lot of detail she gets close to right. How like he has a wife. Um, I guess
And
his
he has
love for
a child.
Penelope, yeah, his love for Penelope is so strong that that part is almost accurate down to the voice. But uh, he does have a child, just a son and not a daughter. And something else that's kind of neat is during the I guess the Scylla part of the song where she's saying like he will chase you high and low. That is that's a repeat of Zeus's bit from Horse and the Infant when he's talking about the son potentially chasing him high and low once he grows up and learns that Odysseus killed his father. And when she says the lair of Scylla, that portion of the song also has Circe's theme played on piano in the background. It's supposed to hint at a connection between them. Stephen, you can explain that bit again, but this what I
Yeah.
like is that the it doesn't draw attention to it at all. It does not care if you don't know the significance. It's a fun little Easter egg for the people who do know.
And like the connection between Scylla and Circe is that Circe like created Scylla in the sense that Scylla used to be a regular nymph, a regular goddess, until she was turned into this monster by Circe because out of like petty jealousy and spite. Um, because the story goes that Circe fell in love with this mortal man, and which she mentions in her like track that she was in love once before, and she fell in love with this mortal man, but because he's immortal and she's a goddess, he would eventually die. So to try to prevent that, she found a way to turn this man into a god. And once he became a god, he became very full of himself. That, now that he's a god, he could do whatever he wants. Meaning, he could also pick any goddess he wants. And he wants who he believes is the most attractive one, which at the time was Scylla. And so Circe, out of pettiness, turns Scylla the same way that she turned this man into a god, turns Scylla into this like raging six-headed serpent monster. And she actually tried to turn Scylla back into normal, but it's been like so long that she's been stuck in this monster form that she's like permanently now this monster.
Yeah, we talked about this before. A lot of spite and pettiness in the Greek world. Like any like perceived slight, this it seems to result in like just lifelong curses.
Like with Athena and uh, Arachne,
Arachne, who I didn't
how
know was Greek until you reminded me.
how people thought that Arachne was a better weaver than Athena. Athena, out of spite, turned Arachne into a spider. It's like, oh, you want to be a weaver? Okay, you could be a spider.
It's not enough, huh? To be the goddess of wisdom, goddess of war, the badass in the arena. You can't just. You have to be the best weaver too. You can't just let her have this one. Anyway, I think this transitions to different beats. It sounded like you were gonna go ahead with that one, unless you want me to do it.
You want me to pick up on different beasts?
Go
I could
ahead.
do it.
It looks
So,
like you're on a roll.
on a roll. So, when Odysseus says that, you know, okay, he'll jump in the water. the song cuts and we hear a bow and arrow. Odysseus shoots Penelope, who is then revealed that is a siren. He says, like, let's cut the charade. You're no wife of mine. You've been trying to take my life this whole time. He knew the entire time that she was a siren and that there was a pack of them waiting in the water. That his real wife knows he's not scared of the water and he doesn't have a daughter. And this entire time when she was trying to like capture Odysseus had his men.
He had his men steal the others.
Ooh, sorry about that. He had his men snatch up all the other sirens that were hiding in the water. And he goes, you know, we are a different beast now. Meaning he's no longer going to be the prey. He's going to do the attacking now. He's not going to hide from these monsters anymore. The world turned them into monsters, and that's who they're going to be. And Odysseus continues saying that, you know, he's been away from home for 12 years or so. It's sort of ambiguous or like vague, like how long it's been. But anyways, and that he's constantly running into more foes, from the Cyclops to now Poseidon, and now he's run into these sirens. And so what they did before they ran into the sirens was fill their ears with beeswax, so that way they could resist the siren's song. And the entire time, Odysseus was reading the main siren's lips and to like figure out what she's saying, trying to figure out which way he could go to evade Poseidon. And now that he knows, he doesn't need her anymore. The sirens beg for mercy to spare them. And he says, like, why should he? He's made this mistake. He's tried to spare someone before when he tried to, you know, talk or get mercy from the Cyclops. And that almost cost him his life. And it cost him the life of a lot of members of his crew. And he's tired of taking risks. He can't, you know, keep going like this. So he has his men cut off the tails of the sirens and throw their bodies back in the water. Let them all drown. Which, you know, I'm not going to lie, I was a bit confused because I was like, you know, can't they just breathe underwater? But I'm guessing it's like a turtle type situation where like they could be underwater, but they might need some air.
I guess they might have to resurface, or maybe it's just they can't swim without their tails. So if you throw them in, they just kind of sink.
And
just little
I guess
stubs.
starve.
Yeah.
And you know, the crew joins him saying they're different beasts and to kill them all.
Yeah, the song gets pretty graphic because you can hear the slicing and the sirens are screaming. They're like, no, please. And he's like, cut off all their tails, throw them back in the water. He doesn't want to make the same mistake that he made with Polyphemus. He is showcasing his newfound ruthlessness. But this carries us to Scylla. We have reached the lair of Scylla. I said this before. I wish when I gave you my ranking, I'd included this song somewhere. I think this song is incredibly chilling and haunting in a way that I find the atmosphere and mood is set very quickly. And it goes from, it sounds almost like melancholic and tragic. And it goes to horrifying in the middle, and then it ends on like melancholic and tragic again.
So, all right, you got it.
Yes. So I said the last time that it was I think I said it was a duet between Odysseus and Scylla. I think that's not entirely accurate. This is almost all Scylla. Odysseus just has a part in the beginning and the end, and I don't know if I should count the conversation he has with Eurylochus, because he says it in a singing voice. He gives him orders in a singing voice, but this is Scylla's song essentially.
Yeah.
So they enter the cave, and Eurylochus is like, "Hey, you're quiet today." And Odysseus, he's kind of standoffish. He says there's not much to say. So they start rowing, and Eurylochus, he finally confesses that secret that he's been holding on to. Back in Puppeteer, he said he had a secret he had to confess. And we find out the ugly truth that he was the one who opened the windbag. What a place to admit that. I would have taken that to the grave myself, but Odysseus, the interesting thing is that Odysseus, he doesn't respond. He says nothing in response to this, and I think we're meant to conclude that he's just resigned to the choice that he's going to make, or that he's just become so despondent that he can't even be phased by news like this anymore. I also like the interpretation that he always knew.
Well,
But
I love.
that's up to you.
I think in certain interpretations is Odysseus like facing away from Eurylochus when he hears the news, and he's like shocked or surprised, but he doesn't really show it to the crew. Is like him to himself. When he turns around, he's still straight face. Just ignoring it as it was nothing.
Oh,
But it's still like
I love Gigi's
hurt him.
animation. You don't see his face, but when he
But you
turns
see like
around, he's straight faced when he's talking to Eurylochus.
yes.
Oh, he does the anime thing where like his eyes are hidden, but you can see his mouth.
I love that so much.
I love it. But anyway, Odysseus, he just orders Eurylochus to light up 6 torches. I quite enjoy the meme where it was going to be 5, but as soon as Eurylochus admits he opened the windbag, he makes it 6. Uh, I guess it's worth talking about though. In all seriousness, do you think Eurylochus was meant to be one of the people holding the torches, or no?
That's a good question.
I wonder if he cared.
I'm not entirely sure if Odysseus cared. It was sort of lights it because Eurylochus can't hold 6 torches, so someone's going to be given a torch at some point. If Eurylochus got one, it was just luck of the draw, or
Yep.
not so much luck in this situation.
But it's worth talking about the lyrics as well. It's like I said, it's Scylla singing. The voice is very haunting. She says, deep down, you know that we are the same, leaving them feeling betrayed, breaking the bonds that you've made. There is no price we won't pay. We both know what it takes to survive. I love the lyrics on Scylla's end because she has the perspective of not so much a monster, but just like an animal. Like she has no moral qualms about the things that she does because she is ultimately a creature who needs to eat, who needs to feed. But
Yes.
the whole song, she's comparing herself to Odysseus, who is a human capable of, moral decisions. And he is making the same kind of monstrous decisions in the name of survival. Because, of course, they continue rowing, and Eurylochus says something approaches, and they see. I love Gigi's design. It's like a almost normal looking, but otherwise creepy looking woman in the water, and then she rises, and that normal looking head turns out to be like a mask for like this 6-headed monstrous beast, and they begin eating all the crew members that are holding torches. And some animatics do this. I love the versions that Eurylochus is holding one, and he passes a torch to a crew member so he can help people, and he unknowingly gets that person killed. It's
I
a
love that.
nice
And then
touch.
when
It's in character. It's great.
he realizes what just happened. Like
Yeah.
he saw, the person that it was a torch that the monster was attracted to.
Yep. Gigi's animation has this too. I got it up on screen right now. One of the crew members, they drop one of their severed hand falls holding the torch, and you can see Eurylochus is realizing what's going on, but he can't do anything about it now because he has to help people. He goes to help a guy, but he's too late. The last person gets eaten. He realized way too late what was going on. But just like that, they're out of the cave. Oh, I also like Odysseus. Plausible deniability. He says, "Row for your lives." He knows that they're not going to make it out, but he wants it to look like he tried to save them.
And who knows? Like maybe if they rode fast enough, they could have been lucky.
Maybe he might have been trying his luck. But when you look at, well, we'll talk about it in the next track. I want to talk more about Scylla's lyrics, because when they come across her, the song goes silent, and you just hear, "Hello," and Scylla reveals herself to be a complete monster. There's this instrumental break, and then Scylla, as she's eating people, her voice is more monstrous. She's saying, "Drown in your sorrow and fears, choke on your blood and your tears, bleed till you've run out of years. We must do what it takes to survive." She has another verse, but as they're leaving the lair, in the animation at least, she says, "We are the same, you and I," and Odysseus sings along. It's incredible. This song and Suffering, I really slept on them. Goddamn, I quite like both those tracks.
Scylla is definitely like one of my favorites because just be just because of like the monsters, like form. Like this is, it's like there's no fighting. It's sort of like with the Cyclops when he was attacking. Like there's nothing they could really do in that moment.
Yep. And that takes us neatly along to Mutiny, because Eurylochus, he realized what happened. This is a bridge too far, and he tells him, oh, a line that he has that I like is when he says, "Use your wits to try and say I'm crazy and mad." He's basically saying, like, he felt, there's an interpretation that he might have felt gaslighted the last time he expressed doubts when he said, what was it called? The luck runs out. So now he's like, go ahead, try and tell me that I'm making this up or that I don't know what I'm talking about. You definitely sacrificed those 6 people. And Odysseus,
I like the.
yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say I like the idea of like he's hoping like Odysseus didn't know. Like please, like tell me like it's not what I think it is.
Yeah. But I also like the idea that part of him knows, like, why 6 torches? What was up with that?
Yeah, like there is that. Like
He,
that's a odd coincidence.
yeah, he has to have known that there was a price to pay going into Scylla's lair, and he was acting oddly during that whole mission. He says, "When we fought the Cyclops, you were quick to hatch a plan, and when we fought with Circe, it was you who left behind no man." Which is funny, right? Because a lot of people have memed on this. It's like, we, are you sure, buddy? We didn't fight Circe. But anyway, he says, when we saw this monster, we didn't take a stand, we just ran. And he says, "Say something! I can't!" Odysseus tries to justify his actions, and Eurylochus is like, "You miss your wife so bad, you would sacrifice your own crew." And a line that I really like is Odysseus says, "Don't fight me, brother, you know you would have done the same." It reminds me of Puppeteer when he says, in relation to saving the other guys, he says, if something like, if it was me you had to save, I would hope you do the same, something like that.
Yes.
That time he used it in relation to saving the crew, and this time he uses it to justify sacrificing the crew. I don't know if that was intentional, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was. But when you look at Odysseus' options, this is what you were talking about earlier. His options, they were not great. His options were to take his chances with Poseidon, which is certain death. Charybdis, who would just swallow the ship. Going through the lair of Scylla, if you fight her, no doubt she would have just eaten everybody. Like, they're not winning that fight. So his only choice was to offer her 6 men to placate her and allow them to leave with minimal casualties.
Yes, because she only has so many heads.
Yeah. It's just enough to be like, hey, you're 6, don't get too greedy. We're just passing by.
But if they did take too long rowing, she definitely could have gotten more.
Oh yeah, she could have taken all of them. But it's at this point where Eurylochus stages a mutiny with the rest of the crew. It's worth pointing out that this is basically a dark reprise of Luck Runs Out. A lot of the lyrics is carried over. At one point, Eurylochus says, "If you want all the power, you must carry all the blame," which I believe is from a cut song. Excuse me.
I'm not sure. Probably. I wouldn't be surprised.
I read that somewhere. I don't know which cut song. But anyway, they have a little fight. Odysseus says, "Drop your weapons." Eurylochus says, hang on. Yeah, you have forced my hand, essentially. And Odysseus says, "I'm not letting you get in my way." And one of the crew members stabs him in the back. And he says, "My brothers, why?" And they're like,
and fun fact,
"It's over, bro. We're shutting you down." And they knock him out.
Fun fact about the crew member that stabbed him in the back. I learned that his name is Paramedes, who was best friends with Elpenor.
Oh, so that one was for Elpenor is what you're saying.
Probably. And Paramedes has some cut songs as well. I'm not sure if you heard it. It was one where he was like, the captain's been acting weird lately ever since he had to kill a baby. And Paramedes is like, give me the baby. I would yeet it off the tower. And
I've
quote,
heard of that one.
Yeet. Yes.
And I think he cut it because the word yeet, like, he had to draw the line with that one.
Honestly, I can see it still in it.
Yeah, I don't think I would have minded too much.
But at the same time, it's like, it's another crew member who do they have really much significance to the overall plot?
There's not enough time to develop them compared to like what they contribute.
Yeah.
But yeah. Is he in does he have a part in one of the crew songs, like Keep Your Friends Close or Storm?
Not in the actual musical, unless he's a part of like the ensemble choir crew.
I have no doubt of that. I just wondered if he had any like individual parts, right? Because there are some crew members who are like, "Open the bag."
I'm not sure. That it is interesting. I don't think so. Just because of like the timing of when each album was made, because the voice actor for Paramedes is of another character that we'll hear in a later album or a later track. And he was like recruited a bit later into the like making of Epic.
I see. Well, the crew takes Odysseus to an island, the nearest one they found, and they tie him up. And Odysseus is like, "Hey, where are we?" And Eurylochus is like, "We found this island. has this statue, but there are a bunch of cows, and I'm really, really hungry. Uh, it's the sun god Helios, and Odysseus tries to warn him. He reincorporates lyrics from Luck Runs Out. He says, "Please don't tell me you're about to do what I think you do." And Eurylochus says, "Odie, we're never gonna make it home. You know it's true." The melody is reincorporated as Odysseus is warning him that this is the land of the sun god, and these cows are his friends, and if you kill them, we're gonna get retribution from Olympus, and God knows we have enough on our plate with Poseidon. But Eurylochus says, I'm hungry, I'm tired. He says, "I'm starving, my friend. How much longer should I suffer now?" They argue back and forth, and Eurylochus eventually says, "I'm just a man," and he kills the cow. And something that I really like, once Odysseus says, "It's over, you've doomed us all," this whole song, during the mutiny, he's been calling him Eurylochus. He's been calling Odysseus by his name, but once he fucks up, he goes back to calling him captain. He's like, "All right, you're captain again. Help us. We need your help." It's funny in some ways, but it's also a neat it's a neat character thing that he realizes that Odysseus is the one who gets them out of these jams, and he is a reliable leader when he's not killing his own men.
Part of it almost feels like looking up to a father figure at this point,
Yeah.
just because of how much the crew relies on Odysseus for the simplest things.
You can almost see it
And
as
like,
he had a tantrum, and now that he's let it out, there are unintended consequences, and he's like, "I need your help now."
unfortunately, and I feel like a lot of it is they're all grown men, they're grown warriors, but yet Odysseus is the only one that has any sort of common sense. Like, he still has his own hubris here and
Oh
there,
yeah.
but I feel like so many men in this time just struggle for the common things. Like, going back to the wind bag, how old are you? You're at least your late 20s, early to mid 30s.
Yeah, there
You
was
were
this
that curious?
impenetrable storm keeping you from going home. It disappears. And your leader comes back and saying, "Hey, the storm that was keeping us from getting home is in this bag, so don't open it." And then they open it
And then they
when they're miles from home. Just a matter of miles. Yeah, you're right, actually. A lot of the crew's trouble, they really need they're lucky to have Odysseus. They need a good leader.
Oh, without a doubt. But well, okay, hold on. We'll get to what I was about to say in a second in a upcoming song.
The next song or later?
The next song.
Okay. Because this song ends with Odysseus saying, "Who do you think they'll send?" And there's no introduction. There's no Odysseus of Ithaca. We just hear thunder, and we know who's here. That brings us to the next song, Thunderbringer. We're gonna gush about this one a bit. I feel like we hear thunder and the eagle screeching. It's Zeus. He is back. He is here to collect his pound of flesh. What, in contrast to Ruthlessness, this song is maybe 20% Zeus coming here to enact justice, and the other 80% is just him singing about how awesome he is. I need to bring up the lyrics. First words out of his mouth. Pride is a damsel in distress, hiding away where only I can undress her. Try all she can not to confess. It's in the end, it's all the same once I apply all the pressure. Is it not just perfect in telling us who this is? He compares the pride of man to a woman, and he's saying that eventually he's gonna get the bottom of it because he knows he's the god king and he can have whatever he wants. And the voice that they have for him is incredible. Like he sounds like a god. He's like larger than life in his performance. I love it.
Luke Holtz.
Yep, Luke Holtz.
He he's pa no, he's definitely without doubt like one of my favorite like Zeus voices. Like over like
Oh
Disney's
yeah.
Hercules. Like maybe even over like the Hades
Yeah,
games
the
or the
Hades
God
one
of
is
War
pretty
games.
grandiose too, but this one, like, goddamn, he sounds
Like
scary.
when I hear it, yes.
The one in Hades sounds like a kindly grandfather in comparison. Yeah, he sounds like this Zeus sounds like someone you really want to be on his good side. If you
Or
were on his
else.
good side, you could have a beer with him, but you don't want to be on his bad side. And it's not the last we'll hear of him. Anyway, he tells Odysseus, if I were to make you choose the lives of your men and crew or your own, why do I think they lose? He knows exactly the choice Odysseus is going to make here because he forced him to make a choice like that before with the baby. He says that since one of the crew ate one of the cows, they have to pay with their lives. And he is giving Odysseus the final say. It's it's very tragic because Zeus tells him to choose, and Odysseus is saying, "Please don't make me do this like he did in Horse and the Infant." I think the lyrics, "Please don't make me do this," are very deliberate in what's being presented here. Because it's easy to think of this of like, oh, what's he gonna choose? Is he going to choose himself or his crew? But we know what he's going to choose. If
Yes.
he chooses himself, he can't go see Penelope, and that is his driving motivation. So what is going on here is Zeus is essentially giving Odysseus the gun, and he has to pull the trigger, and he doesn't want to do it. He's going to do it,
And
but he hates it.
yes. And I mentioned this last time that Zeus offers up this choice of killing Odysseus or killing the crew, but there isn't really much of a choice. Not because of what Odysseus is going to do, but
Mm.
because Zeus doesn't really have the, I guess, option or the ability to kill Odysseus at this moment because Odysseus is fated to return to Ithaca.
That's right, the
No matter,
fates.
yes. So, like, it's sort of like this false hope of like you have this chance, but like even if Odysseus chooses to sacrifice himself, Zeus was still going to kill the crew
Do you think that the crew deserve it? Should they suffer?
without a doubt.
I think so too.
Without they this entire time, had they just listened to Odysseus, they would have gone home already. The Odysseus's only mistake was revealing his name to Polyphemus.
Yep. And even facing Poseidon's retribution, it seems to me like they could have escaped had it not been for Eurylochus opening the bag.
Yes, they what? They were like minutes, like they would have arrived to Ithaca that same day.
He put them right in his path. They're
Yes.
kind of a
It's
liability. They gotta go.
And the entire time they're screaming out for their captain to like help them or tell them what to do. And it's like he's tired. Actually, in the Circe book by Madeline Miller,
Hmm.
Odysseus sort of like talks about this, how the crew is constantly looking up to him. He sees them as like his children in a way, but he's tired. They make him so upset, so angry. He doesn't like really show it, but like because he has to be their captain, he has to be their leader. But it's like he's tired of like babysitting them, basically.
Yeah, you can't let that resentment show. You you have to put on a brave face at all times. It's really hard being captain, especially for a crew like this. I like the interpretation that Odysseus at this point he feels a level of resentment towards his crew, and that's what informs his decision. It kind of comes through. It's hard to come through in the song, I guess, but in Neil's animation at least, he's kind of looking at his crew almost scornfully after he makes his choice, which we should talk about because the exchange that that comes up when he makes his decision is one I quite like, uh, particularly for the voice acting. Eurylochus, he just says, "Captain." He's holding out hope, and Odysseus says, "I have to see her," and Eurylochus says, "But we'll die." And I like it because he's not. It's not a begging tone. It's just very flat and broken in the sense of like, yeah, I know it's your wife, but like it's us. You do care about us, right? But Odysseus just says, I know. I know it's you guys, but
It's my wife.
yeah, between you guys and my wife, I'm gonna choose my wife. And that's that.
And
We
honestly,
Yep.
oh, I was going to say, like, if any of them were in his positions, they would make the same choice.
Oh, with I don't think they would have hesitated. Maybe Eurylochus, but some of these I don't trust a lot of these fuckers.
Not at all.
We talked about this too. I like the animatics where the Eurylochus is the only one who stands behind, but the rest of the crew they try to sort of take Odysseus with them before they all get smote,
No, I think it's
smote.
smite. Smoke.
But the track ends on a very dismal note. And at this point, you're kind of like, damn. Because if you're like me, you're like, there's like 3 whole sagas left. So what the hell what's going on? But that is the end of the Thunder Saga, and we've been talking about it for almost an hour, so we're making good time. This takes us to the Wisdom Saga, and we're actually back in Ithaca for this. There's a time skip of 7 years, and we follow Telemachus, who is now 20 years old. So at this point, it's been 20 years since Troy.
Yes.
He talks about how he wants to be a legendary hero like his father, in hopes of seeing him again because he's heard all his stories. And he says stuff like, give me sirens and a cyclops, give me a hydra. He knows it'll be dangerous, but he wants to be legendary. It's a very good like I want song. It informs us about his character, especially because the reason why he wants the power is so he wants to be able to protect his wife,
His mom.
his mom. Jesus,
Oedipus.
this is not an edible story. He wants to protect his mom from the suitors because they're getting more and more antsy and predatory. And is there 108? Is that in the musical or the original story?
It's not in the musical. Probably the original story. I didn't.
Surely
I don't. I'm
not.
not sure how many. I don't think. in the musical they said how many suitors. There's just a ton of them.
I have 108 here in my notes, and I don't know where I got that number from. Anyway,
You know,
yeah,
108 old faces. I think it might be in the musical.
I could check the
I could just
lyrics.
bring up the lyrics. Yeah, 108. Yep, 108 old faces of men who
Ooh,
call me small. Yep, it's from the musical. Huh.
I was right on the money. Something that I've noticed when he says, "Give me a sign," and Jorge's just talked about this recently. Uh, you can hear Athena's theme in Telemachus's instruments, which is indie piano, and he also has a combination of Odysseus's guitar and Penelope's viola for obvious reasons. But the end of the song is one of the suitors. You could call him the leader of the pack, Antinous. He says, "When is your tramp mother going to choose a suitor?" And Telemachus says, "Don't you fucking talk about my mom that way." I'm kidding, it's not that dramatic. But Antinous says, like, "Well, I just did. What are you gonna do about it, champ?" And that transitions us right to the next song, which is called. Oh, first, was there anything else you wanted to say about Legendary?
I love Antinous's like voice.
Oh yeah, it's very sleazy. He's really good.
He gives, Disney villain, while Telemachus gives Disney princess.
Yeah,
Like
like Gaston.
legendary, legendary is very much like it's such a like switch up from like everything we've like just gone through. Like it, like leading up to this moment, it was very like sad. Like everyone just died, and now we're in this upbeat like
Yeah, you're like ding 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 ding, and you're like, oh, what's going on?
but I love it still.
Oh, I didn't want to skip over this. We brought it up last time. The singer that they have for Telemachus, he sounds almost exactly like Jorge. He's really good.
Which
Very convincing that he's his son. I thought it was Jorge the first time.
what's his name? Miko, Mico.
Not sure. I don't have it.
A
I
lot
don't have Spotify up. I got him on downloaded.
a lot of the voice actors have like their own Spotify and release their own music. He's one of them.
Yeah, he's great. I also like the
But
bit where he raps. He goes legendary. Yeah, he beatbox. But that takes us to Little Wolf. He gets into a fight with Antinous. I like the energy of this song. It's very the tempo is very like bouncy. We talked about it. It reminds me of a fighting game.
like Street Fighters or Mortal Kombat, especially how a lot of animatics will have it as like a side scroller.
There was one that I saw where they actually pull up like the Street Fighter UI and they have health bars and stuff.
I think that's the one I saw as well.
It's not the one I have up here, but I think you said that's what Jorge was going for. He
Yes,
said that at some point. What I
I didn't
imagine
watch
is
all of them.
Punch Out.
Punch Out.
Yeah, where it's like you gotta bob and weave and you gotta look for an opening to
Mm,
punch them.
yes.
It sounded like you were about to say something.
Oh, that I haven't like seen all the watch parties, but whenever a new album was released, Jorge and like the crew would like do streams of them re-listening to the entire like album, and they would have animatics, and one of them was like the UI, the one with the like Mortal Kombat UI and stuff.
Yep. I think that's where I saw that too. But Telemachus, he's getting beat up pretty badly. Antinous, he's a big old manly man. Oh, I think you mentioned before that these guys, at least in the original story, they're not that much older than Telemachus.
Oh, yes, they're like the oldest, and I highly doubt this would be like hitting 30, but they're all mostly around like early to mid 20s. Some of them even in their teens. Like they're basically around the same age as Telemachus at this point.
Right, because they're all the men went to war, and these would have been the boys who didn't go to war.
Yes.
Excuse me. Anyway, he's getting beat up pretty badly, and we hear Athena's signature. Uh, it's hard to describe. It's like a synth. It's like, "Tut, tut, tut, tut." And time slows down, and she says, "Hey, need some help?" And Telemachus is like, "Whoa, what's going on? Is time slowed down?" And Athena says, "Nope, I've sped up your thoughts. We are in the quick thought dimension." And Telemachus is like, "Oh, well, I still don't know what to do." And Athena's like, "Uppercut him now." And he lands a hit, and the fight starts to kind of go in Telemachus's favor, except he still loses. And Athena even says, like, maybe I pushed you too hard. But throughout the whole song, the lyrics are fight little wolf, bite little wolf, strike little wolf, which I think is significant because I say throughout, but I guess at various points, Odysseus and his men, by extension, they're compared to wolves. Uh, Poseidon even says during Ruthlessness, he says something like the wolves are swimming with the sharks now.
Yes, I never picked that up.
Yeah, and Telemachus, he's the little wolf. Haha.
And I love that Athena sort of like reclaims that little wolf title because the suitors were like calling him little wolf like mockingly,
They were
but
taunting him before.
yes, but now she's saying like, little wolf like, with a brave heart.
Yeah, she repurposes some of the lyrics because at first the suitors are saying bite little wolf, but when Athena takes over, obviously in like a mocking tone, but when Athena takes over, she says, "Show them that you've got some bite, little wolf." It's a neat track.
I love Athena.
I do too. I quite like Athena. The track ends and with Telemachus asking Athena why she helped him. And that transitions us to Will Be Fine, which is an Athena song. And one of my favorites. She says that she had a friend like him before, but they parted ways in a way that she's not happy with. And now she's obviously talking about Odysseus, but he doesn't let him know that. She says his light went dark, something like that. She's
Yes.
basically worried about Odysseus, but they ended on bad terms, so she's not sure if he would welcome her back in her life again. So she's making up for it by deciding to help someone else. She has come around to the idea of, I guess, the last words Odysseus said to her, where he said, at least I know what I'm fighting for, but you're fighting to be known. And he says, like, if you're so wise, how come you're all alone?
Mm-hmm.
And I guess there's a layer coming out that Athena, it is kind of lonely being a god. So she wants to do some good in the world, put it back out there. And Telemachus comes in and says, "Hey," at this point he proudly calls Athena your friend, and he says, "I'm happy you're my friend, cause I got in a fight and I didn't die." And he encourages her to reach out to her friend one more time. He says, maybe he could need your help. It could go well. You know, something bad could happen, but something good could happen.
You never
And
know.
he says, "If not for your friend, then for mine," something along those lines. There's a
Um,
part in yeah. Go ahead.
oh no, no, I was going to like say like what he said, like what I'm like speed reading it, but
Mm-hmm.
you go ahead while I find it.
The part in the animatic where he falls and Athena lets him catch her on her arm. This song is incredibly sweet, especially if you have the headcanon that Athena was watching over Telemachus since he was a baby.
I love that she's like so close to the family, but the line is that he said was like, if she's not going to be his friend, then at least she's his friend. Or if she's not going to be the friend of her missing friend, at least she is his friend. If not his friend, then mine.
Oh, I interpreted that line differently. I think yours might be the correct one, but I thought he was saying maybe if Odysseus won't welcome you back into his life for your sake, he'll do it for mine
Maybe because at
as
the
a
same
mutual
at the same
friend.
time he's trying to convince her to reach back out.
Yeah.
That's why I love that about Epic. Like there's so many different interpretations of the
The
lines.
lyrics are very clever in that way. But the last line from Athena in the song is "You're a good kid," which I like because if you remember back in Warrior of the Mind, which is her like character establishing song, her last sung line to Odysseus is "Don't disappoint me." It's sort of meant to highlight the change that she's gone through since then. And of course, Telemachus is like, "Thanks," because he is a good lad. But Athena has a choice to make now. She's gonna go check in on Odysseus, but she has to catch up on the plot. So she opens Spotify and she streams Epic. She scrolls. I made that song the last. I made that joke the last time, and you didn't react. So I was worried
I,
that it
didn't-
didn't land.
I must have not heard it, but
But yeah, we hear like snippets of some of the other songs. And something that I like is that they're all played to the same beat as they would have had to been altered to go to the beat of Athena's clock. They all go by like the quarter beats. I don't
yeah.
even
So
know if I'm using that correctly.
it's not like a one for one, like just splicing and pasting the song into into this song. It's speeding it up to match like the tempo.
Yep. And the last thing she sees is right at the end of Thunderbringer, where all the crew gets smoked, and she says, "I guess that's where the memories end." So she's like, "Where did you go?" And musical transition that I quite like to sort of replicate the effect of fading in on a new scene is we hear Athena's clock slowly fade away as more like beachy instruments come in. Because we're zooming in on an island that Odysseus has washed up on. And this girl is here, and she hits him with the morning sleepyhead. Uh, Apparently Odysseus was talking in his sleep, and she asks who's Penelope, and Odysseus says she's my wife. And there's this there's this long silence before the Calypso. She starts going into like Jorge has compared her to like an excited child showing somebody their room. Except she's showing
Basically,
him an entire island. She's like, this is the kitchen, this is our bedroom, and this is the bathroom, and this is the
this is where
balcony, and this is the bed
this is
that we're
where
gonna
the
sleep in. And Odysseus is like, hey, whoa, 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 whoa.
whoa. I didn't ask for any of this. I didn't sign up for
I didn't
this.
sign up for this. um, Different artists. I've like tried to compare different animatics for what is happening with Calypso during the long pause after he says Penelope is my wife. I've yet to see one that like replicates my headcanon where she just smiles like he didn't say anything. Cause a lot of them they give her like the unhinged face. I personally my headcanon is that she just her facial expression just doesn't change at all. She just begins singing. But
I've seen some
mm,
where it's like she doesn't like make a fade, but like she's just staring,
yeah,
and they're like just cutting back and forth between like they're them just like looking at each other,
I've
and she's
seen
like,
that one too.
anyways,
I've seen that one too. But I like the one where I imagine in my mind the camera just stands still and it's just her face.
she's just in one ear out the other.
Yeah, basically. But in her mind she's thinking like, of course, I get the one Greek who's loyal to his wife.
The one guy who's married.
Yep. And she keeps coming on to him. She does not relent, and eventually Odysseus is like, "Hey, I could kill you." which, which, yeah, he's at that point now where he's been through a lot already. He's just sacrificed his crew, and this is just a girl who's just being really, really pushy. But at this point, the song kind of takes a turn, because Calypso reveals herself to be a goddess, very casually. And Odysseus is like, oh shit, because gods have been causing problems for him this entire trip. And the song briefly takes a turn where she's like, I could fuck you up if I wanted to, but I don't. And the song goes back to being cheerful. We have
Which
some. Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say it's sort of kind of scary. Like,
It does. It gets kind of chilling because like the synth comes in and some of the animatics are like her eyes and her hair glows.
and her line's like, you could try to kill me, but goddesses don't die. And it's just like, I don't know, her entire like vibe is sort of threatening in a way.
Yeah. Is it true that in the original story, Odysseus does end up?
Sleeping with
Wait,
her?
does he? Yeah, and it's non-consensual, right?
Yeah, it's not consensual. He actually, in the original, he does sleep with Cersei and
Cersei as
Calypso.
well. Yeah.
With Cersei is a lot more like willing. Um, but the whole thing of him not sleeping with other women doesn't matter in the original. Um, but with Cersei, it was like he was there for moms. They sort of formed a connection, but he never stopped loving Penelope. He never stopped wanting to go home. He Part of the reason he slept with her is because she's a goddess, so she could always just take it from him if she really wanted to.
Yeah.
So that's part of the reason he slept with her. Part of it is he's just a man. Like
There are power
he, he
dynamics at play here.
he's like, of course he's gonna want to sleep with her or whatnot. Um, but I don't know. I like, but with Calypso, it was definitely unwilling, unconsensual, and Epic sort of. No, you know what? Actually, I'm not sure. It's sort of like vague if they actually sleep together or not. Um, because if they do, it's not like he's cheating. It's more like he's
He's
assaulted.
a victim.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if this because we don't get much for this version of Calypso. I don't know if she would be the type to like force herself on him because she is
I
very
mean, she
pushy and she does apologize for it, but I don't know if she'd go that far.
I don't know, like she, the apologizing thing is sort of like apologizing after the fact as he's like leaving, you
Yeah,
know?
we'll talk about it, but it's like it's kind of like a sorry you feel that way kind of apology.
Oh, it definitely is. Because it's like, sorry, we'll talk about it
Yeah,
later.
we're close. I say we're close. We're 2 songs away, and we've been talking about these for quite a while. But basically, the situation is Odysseus is trapped on this island. She says there's no way of getting off. The implication is that she's tried before. He is with this romantically obsessed goddess that he can't kill, and he can't leave. And it's been that way for the past 7 years. So things are not looking good. Odysseus reaches the point where he is on a ledge, contemplating suicide, because he's fallen into a deep depression. He's at this point he's given up hope of ever getting home. But Calypso, poor woman, she accidentally, I say accidentally, but she pushes a trauma button by saying, "Come back into my open arms," something like that. And we hear Polites, Eurylochus, and Odysseus' mom. They're all singing like various songs all at once. I think it's like Open Arms, Luck Runs Out, and his mom's part in the underworld.
Yes.
It's a very good way of communicating a mental breakdown with just music, because they're all overlapping, and Odysseus is saying, "All I hear are screams," and unfortunately, Calypso also says, "I'll stay inside your heart," which is exactly what his mom said. Uh, she's saying, "Get off the ledge." She's trying to bring him back, but Odysseus is too far gone, and eventually he screams out Athena's name.
That every time I listen to that part, it always gives me goosebumps. But I wish the scream was more like, you know,
Spoken.
from the soul broken like scream. Instead of, but since it's a musical, it has to be like, I'm not sure how to describe it. It's
It's like
not
subdued
as like,
almost.
yes,
But you
definitely
wish it was
subdued.
spoken. But they done spoken words. They could easily have made this an actual scream. I like the musical scream, but I can see your side as well. It would have been definitely very visceral and striking. But the important part is Athena says he needs my help. And that takes us to the next song, God Games, which will close out the Wisdom Saga. Athena makes her way to Olympus, and she begins pleading with her father Zeus to free Odysseus from his prison. I'm guessing Zeus put him there? Or that's just where he ended
Yes.
up?
I think Zeus put him there. And I think Zeus is the reason why Calypso's trapped on her island. I'm not entirely familiar with her like lore. Um but if anything's wrong, you could probably blame Zeus.
That's a good assumption to make. But so the thing is, Zeus ended up letting Odysseus live, but he trapped him as
On the island.
punishment? Or
Yeah.
just because? Just to be a dick?
Both sort of punishment because of Helios's cows, even though Odysseus didn't kill the cows himself.
Oh shit,
Uh
I got the wrong
he
animatic up.
he was still he's still a captain, so he's still going to receive some sort of punishment.
Right, right.
And
Alright, hang on. I want to get Neil's animation up because I like that one. But yeah, Athena pleads with her father to free Odysseus. And Zeus, because everything's gotta be a fucking game with these gods, he's like, okay, we'll make it a game.
okay.
And he says, convince each of them that he ought to be released, and I will release him. You gotta make your case, with all these gods. And who are the gods, you might wonder? They are Apollo, Hephaestus, Ares and Aphrodite, as well as Hera. So what we have, the setup here is Athena is going to go to them one by one and make her case for why Odysseus should be released from the island. I've compared this to the Elite Four battles in Pokemon, followed by the champion. I quite like it. I quite like the structure. This might be my favorite song in terms of concept, if not execution. In terms of concept and execution, maybe. Well, we can talk about our rankings at a different point. But our first.
In terms of concept, this
Hmm.
is definitely one of the best songs ever. Like the idea of facing a gauntlet of gods.
Yeah, it's sick. But there's an argument to be made that this could have been a saga on its own, but we'll get there.
Yeah.
First god on the docket is good old Apollo, god of the sun and music and archery. What is the difference again between him and Helios? Because I think last time I asked why Helios wouldn't be here.
That Helios isn't an Olympian god. He's a Titan. And
That's right.
he's sort of the incarnate of the sun incarnate, or I guess the personification of the sun, while Helios is just like the god of the sun. How there are multiple gods for like the same thing, like how there are multiple like sea gods,
Mm-hmm.
even though Poseidon's the god of the sea itself. Uh, it's like I guess different levels to it. And the only reason I sort of know this is because of Selene in Hades too, how she's the moon incarnate,
The moon.
and
Yeah.
she's also a Titan.
I like her.
Um, so yes, that's why Apollo is here instead of Helios.
Right on.
It's funny because it's sort of it's sort of like Zeus called on the wrong sun god,
Yeah, I've
because
seen TikToks of that.
it was Helios's cows, and then it was Helios who complained to Zeus like, "Yo, come kill this guy. He killed my cows. You got to do something."
You gotta do better.
But yes,
But yeah, Apollo, he's like the starter boss, right? Because his grievance against Odysseus isn't that big. A lot of them, I say a lot of them, but some of them feel like they're here just because Zeus told them to be here.
definitely found out. I feel like a lot of the gods, especially like Hephaestus coming up, where he's throughout his song, he's like doing work. In a lot of animatics, they show that,
Yeah,
and he's like he's too busy to be here, so he throws something out that sort of relates to him.
this one in particular feels kind of like it's like an excuse plot almost because his grievance, I put that in quotes, is against Odysseus for killing the sirens. And it's like, why? It's like, because he likes music. Sirens make music, sirens dead, no more music. Odie's in the wrong. Yeah, he calls him Odie, which is something I think you brought attention to last time.
Yeah, how it's sort of like it sort of feels like he doesn't feel anything, like he's not angry towards Odysseus, because people who call him Odie are sort of close to him, but at the same time,
Casual.
Apollo's very full of himself, like he's the best god ever. So I don't like put it against him of talking to someone who he believes is below him in a casual way.
And a lot of the animatics, he's just smiling, he's having fun. He's not really taking this seriously. I got Neil's animatic on screen. He fires like uh, arrows from music notes. He's in front of the sun. He's firing these arrows at Athena. All of them fight Athena as they make their arguments.
Yes. And Apollo's interesting because he's like the god of so many different things.
Oh yeah.
Um, not just music, not just archery, but he's also the god of like plague.
Really? That one I didn't know.
Yeah, so I know like during the Trojan War, he like released a plague amongst like the Greeks and stuff. Um, and because one of the Greeks like stole a priestess that worshipped him, and he wanted, the priestess returned. And so he released this plague until she was, returned.
Damn.
But that's a whole different. That's in the Iliad. We're on the Odyssey right now.
Yeah,
But Apollo's definitely not. Oh, go
I
ahead.
was just saying that's meta stuff that doesn't come up here.
Yeah, Apollo's just a god not to mess with, basically. Even though here he comes off very like lighthearted in a way.
Yeah, he is just here. But the structure is the god brings up their grievance, Athena brings up a counter, and I think you said last time it's a deliberate choice by Jorge that Athena would have to account for things that she wasn't present for,
Yes.
which I think is interesting because some of these are decisions that she might not have signed off on. She might have been advocating to fight Scylla as well. She might not have approved of Odysseus betraying his crew, but she has to justify them for the sake of his rescue. Which, okay. Because a lot of people complain that her counter arguments are very weak, but that might be by design. Because the next one is Hephaestus, and god of the forge. What could possibly be his problem? They make it work, I think. They appeal to like a base principle. He says trust is not given, it's forged. So we know right away what his values are. And then he says he can't sign off on Odysseus' release because he betrayed his crew. And Athena's argument basically just amounts to, well, they betrayed him first. Which, someone might say that's a weak counter, but it's true. And his crew was kind of useless. But the important thing is she says that Odysseus, he can't make right by his companions in the future unless he's released. And that's what convinces him to release him. Oh, fucking Neil's animatic. He's in a giant mech.
Like
Fucking awesome. But next is Aphrodite. And the goddess of love and beauty, of course, and she's against Odysseus for inadvertently causing his mother to die of a broken heart. In Neil's animatic, she has like a puppet or like a clone made out of, is it sea foam? Because Aphrodite was made in
I
the sea foam, something like that.
you know what? I think you're right. I didn't even catch on to that. I thought it was sort of just like a godly clone or something, but it might be like a seafoam clone.
I only got that from comments that she was born out of, I don't know, like the sea.
Every god was born in like some weird way.
Some bizarre way.
Like Athena, like she was born out of like Zeus's head.
Yeah. Wasn't Aphrodite born out of Uranus?
I think so.
I can't confirm
She
this. This is
I
YouTube comments.
I want to say she's the daughter of Zeus, one of the daughters. I'm not, but don't quote me. I'm not entirely sure.
That would make her and Athena siblings then, no?
Yes, I
I
have a book somewhere on the like family tree.
I like the animatics where Athena's just like done with Aphrodite. The encounter is just kind of like, oh fuck, I have to deal with her. But anyway,
Oh,
in between all of them, I just want to add Zeus's theme is playing his synth because he's the one behind all of this.
and also Aphrodite is the daughter of Zeus and the goddess of the ocean, so Uranus. Um, and in many story, but in some stories, she's born from like sea foam from Uranus. So
Yeah,
I guess it all depends. It all depends on like the version you're reading.
I suppose. The notable thing about the Aphrodite bit of the song is that she is the only one, well, the first one who is not convinced right away. Because Athena's response in regards to his mom dying a broken heart is Athena says he was busy fighting in the war that she started, by the way. But that's true, right? That she caused the Battle of Troy.
Yes, Aphrodite was a like reason Helen even got captured, and like she no, yeah, she definitely started the Trojan War.
But she points out that he was uh, busy fucking around with the Cyclops, which is true to some degree. That was time he could have spent getting home. But even then, like, they were looking for food.
A lot of it is like out of Odysseus's control.
Yeah, they
So
were
it's
on the
like
shore of
how
Ithaca before fucking Eurylochus opened the bag.
it's hard to like blame him for it. And I'm pretty sure that's when his mom died. When so it's like Eurylochus's fault that she ended up dying because when Eurylochus opened up the wind bag, Odysseus' mom saw the storm that came from the bag and thought Odysseus was in said storm and thought that he died,
He
which made
died.
her die, of a broken heart.
Yep. So, Aphrodite is not convinced. And Athena is actually forced to activate her domain expansion and ask her to reconsider. But this is a segment that I think kind of highlights the weakness with this being one song instead of an entire uh, saga, or even just multiple songs. Because her bit is kind of a dual boss with Ares, and he kind of infringes upon her Athena's domain expansion with his own. I think Gigi's animatic has like the two hourglasses like slamming into each other, and I was like, hey, that's kind of neat, because they're both war gods and they both need their own like pocket dimensions to strategize. I thought it was cool,
Yeah.
but unfortunately, we're not. We're on Ares is part of the song now. Uh, Aphrodite doesn't get a like a designated counter argument to herself. It's sort of treated like an afterthought. I like the battle that the two have when Ares
I like
comes in.
I like
Yeah,
I like Neil's depiction of it, whereas Ares and Aphrodite fighting Athena at the same time.
yeah. Aphrodite like clings to him like a koala, and she gives him like a heart sword.
It's sort. It reminds me. You haven't played it, but it reminds me of the final boss in the DLC of Elden Ring, where it's spoilers for the game,
Spoilers for Elden Ring.
but the
Mm-hmm.
final boss is just like that, where you have this giant boss with another person like fighting behind him, giving him like support.
Yeah, which is what Aphrodite's doing. I quite like it. I also like that when he comes in, Athena is like, she goes, Ares. She sounds almost like irritated, which is when you consider that they're siblings, makes sense.
Siblings and gods of war, so they might have different like strategies when it comes to war.
Oh,
She'll
for
be like
sure.
the wisdom, trying to like plan things out while he's just, it depends. I like the versions of Ares where he's more meticulous
Yeah.
when it comes to war instead of just bloodshed everywhere,
It's why I like the one in Hades. I also don't like when Ares is characterized as like he just likes killing things. He's like rah,
like
rah,
a
rah.
brute.
Yeah. I like with the ones that like they take war seriously. They're cunning. They they plan almost like they plan battle strategies, but battle strategies that are almost like Machiavellian, like that are ruthless and like cruel.
Yes, like Athena's way of winning a war might be the best. What's the best way to win? Well, Ares' approach would be, what's the way that we could kill them all?
Yeah, I think Athena would calculate ways to prevent wars, and then, barring that, winning with the least amount of casualties, whereas Ares would want to create the most amount of casualties, but on the other side. Like
Yeah,
how can we defeat them swiftly and brutally? It's why I really like
yeah.
the version in Hades. 'Cause he's kind of like, you're looking to cause bloodshed, you know? Let me help you out. I've got just the thing. My kin. But anyway, they fight, and Ares is his grievance with Odysseus is holding back his power, particularly in regards to Scylla. He says he didn't even try to kill her, and just for generally, you know, handling his battles in a very, you could say, roundabout, like indirect way, he cites hiding inside the horse back at Troy. But unfortunately, he makes a big mistake because Telemachus starts catching strays. He says pathetic and weak, like his son. And this gives Athena her second wind. And she says, shut the fuck up. She says, tell your lover that a broken heart can mend. And that's all we get for Aphrodite. In relation to Ares, she says, basically, if you want him to kill more people, let him go. Because he's at the point where he'll kill people to get back home. Which is true, as we'll see. But I'm not pleased with how this bit is handled. It's here where I wish this was more than one song. Because I think the argument Athena should be making to Aphrodite is that Odysseus is entirely motivated by love, and if he's kept prisoner on the island, he can't go back to the people who miss him and are still alive, and they could potentially die of a broken heart too.
Exactly. It's like how he still, yes, he lost the loved one, but he still has loved ones that he's fighting for.
Yeah, and I think we talked about like how cool it would be to see, you know, different gods of Olympus uh, having this structure and being a part of this potential god game saga. Like Dionysus, he's upset because Odysseus has ruined, tainted his wine by adding lotus to it.
I would have loved to see more gods in it. And that, like, if this was like its own like saga, definitely could have seen more gods. Like Hades,
Hades,
Jorge created like some like music. Like, how would Hades's like
yeah, what their themes would sound like.
motif would be like? Yes. Um, I think he might have mentioned Artemis, which would have been interesting because I also recently learned that Artemis and Apollo are twins.
Oh,
And so they would like, compete a lot in, especially in like archery. Um, so I definitely would have loved to see how different gods would have like been depicted.
but yeah, Athena beats the two, and they're like, ugh, release him. Oh, I was thinking as well. Can you imagine if Hades showed up and it was like the Hades version of Hades, and he's like, all this bloody paperwork I have to do because you came in here unannounced.
Oh, that would have been perfect.
But the last one is Hera. I didn't mention this last time. Hera's theme is like 80s funk and like disco. It's really cool.
It's interesting, like why, like how he chose that,
Yeah,
because
I want to know how he got there.
I guess it's a bit hard to like depict Hera in a certain any way, because like every god is like the god of something, right?
Yeah.
Like the god of war, god of love, god of wine. But she's like the goddess of like marriage and like protector of women. So how do you like show that?
It's very anachronistic, but it's an interesting choice. I like to know what informs it if Jorge ever talks about it. But Hera is different from the other gods.
I'm not sure if he has. I'll have to like look into it, but yes.
I'll have to check it out. I'm not sure. Yeah, I was saying Hera, she's different from the other gods in that she doesn't have any kind of personal grievance with Odie, which you might think would make it easier, but the challenge is convincing her to even care. She's kind of like, I've seen so many heroes, why should I give a shit about yours, basically? So
Yes.
she gets to be all like impersonal. Athena appeals to his intelligence and his eloquence, and neither of them are enough. Uh, she then says he's kind of funny, which doesn't work either, and then she says he's never cheated on his wife, which Hera, being the goddess of marriage and the wife of Zeus, that convinces her. She says, release him.
Especially, seeing Zeus's track record.
Yes. For those who don't know, Zeus is not known. He's the god of many things, but he's not the god of loyalty. Hera is just one of his many wives and mistresses.
And she unfortunately takes it out on each of the other ones. Anyone who she finds that Zeus slept with, or any of his kids, she will have some sort of like spite towards. Like Hercules in a lot of stories is named Heracles, named after Hera, to try to please her. But
Oh.
no, she hates him.
She seems to like Athena in the musical, at least.
It's interesting. She sort of like picks and chooses, because Athena's a child of Zeus, so is like Ares and Aphrodite, Hermes. So
And Athena is her stepdaughter, isn't that right?
I guess,
I think I read that somewhere.
since she was just born from Zeus directly, I mean, part of it is Athena did have a mom, but there was a prophecy that one of Zeus's kids would like overcome him, and he tried to avoid that, so he ate this goddess,
Uh,
who was going to give birth to, who's going to overcome him.
that's one way to solve the
But
problem.
he just happened to sleep with her before he ate her.
As you do.
And I guess she ended up giving birth inside of Zeus, and then he ended up giving birth through his head,
What?
and that's how Athena
And
came.
that's where babies come from. There are animatics where Hera like glares at Zeus as she's saying release him, and a lot of people have the interpretation that Athena bringing this up is part of the reason he's pissed at her, in addition to winning his game. Because yes, Zeus is upset because Athena won the challenge that he presented to her. He's kind of a sore loser. He's kind of being a baby.
Oh, without doubt.
He says, no
That's
one wins my game.
very Zeus-like.
And he brings back. This is why I said you don't want to be on his bad side, because Luke Holtz, he he brings the heat here. In a reprise of Thunderbringer, he fucking smites Athena into nothingness. And a detail I like is here Ares asks, "Is she dead?" You know, because they're related, and they do love each other. But Athena gets her second wind, I think. It's really hard to tell what's happening going purely based on the music. I had no idea what the fuck was going on the first time, but I think Athena has like she has a last stand of some sort, and she makes one last plea to Zeus, telling him to please let him go. And that's the end of the song. We don't see what Zeus reacts with, which I really like. And on the whole, I mostly prefer Neil's animatic, but something I prefer, one aspect I prefer Gigi's over Neil's is the ending, where he like catches her in his hand. Because
Yeah, I really like that
isn't
moment.
Athena, sorry, isn't Athena one of Zeus's favorite daughter?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure she's his like favorite child ever.
Oh damn.
Um, like he cares for his like other kids somewhat, but Athena is definitely up there, top three, if not top one.
Top one. Yeah, I like the hands because you only see the hand, but it communicates so much in terms of like, I'm sorry, I'm ready to listen now.
I love how when she says like, "Please let him go," like, it's not like she's like pleading with him to like stop hurting her, and like she's in this entire time still fighting for Odysseus.
Yeah, it's kind of like whatever you do to me, please just hold up your end of the bargain and let him go, please. She's he is what she's fighting for till the end, essentially.
Yes.
This is probably the weird time to bring this up, but it's the last time it'll be relevant. But I'm not a fan of Neil's design for Athena, oddly enough.
Really?
Yeah, this reason might sound weird, but she looks too friendly.
Hmm.
I'll try to explain. She doesn't seem like the kind of character that is set up in the musical that is like standoffish and doesn't really uh I guess believe in friendship until act 2. She seems
I
very
think
approachable and like I want to say Disney like.
what I mean, I definitely see that. The main reason I like Athena's design is that she looks like Zeus with like the hair.
I do like that, and they have like a transition where her head turns around and it comes back around to Zeus.
Yes. But I could definitely see what you mean about her like design being too like friendly. It's not feeling like a goddess of war in a way. It's not what you would picture at least.
She looks like someone you could easily be friends with.
A design I really love is Wolfie the Witch, who's done like a ton of other animatics.
Some of hers
Uh,
are here. Which what is she? What does her Athena look like again?
just this tall, slender woman with like a Greek soldier helmet.
Yeah,
With her face is almost like owl like, which I really love.
I like the animators that let her shapeshift into an owl.
Yes.
Gigi does this a lot.
I think is it Jeezy's that has no, I don't think it's Jeezy's. One of the animators has Athena looking more elfish like.
I couldn't tell you. The only ones I know readily are Neil and Gigi. But I will be including links in the description for all the ones that I use here. Anything else you want to say about God games?
Um, no, I think we covered it.
Yeah, pretty thorough. But like I said, that concludes the Wisdom Saga, so we are on to the Vengeance Saga. And this one actually begins with Odysseus back on the island. The day has come for him to leave. So Calypso is here to wish him goodbye and to apologize for how intense her love might come off. But she ultimately says she's not sorry for the way that she feels. We learn a bit about her character. She says she's been on the island her whole life. I think she says 100 years. And it's left her lonely and with a lot of love to give. So the first man who came, she felt they were destined to be together, and she is heartbroken to learn that that's not the case. So it's very bittersweet because Odysseus says that he does love her, but not in the way that she loves him. Obviously, it's kind of sad when you think about it because it might be comparable to something like Stockholm syndrome, because he's definitely holding on to a lot of resentment, but it has been 7 years and they were the only company that they had. She was ultimately the one taking care of him, I'm sure.
Yes.
We don't get a lot for what that 7 years were like, but it's easy to imagine it was very awkward and loaded with tension, but they were all that each other had.
And I can see them like getting close, Odysseus like sharing stories of like back home and whatnot. But
Yeah,
I guess he's being away for so long still hurts. Like he still misses them as more time goes on. Like that pain continues, which led us to the ending of Love in Paradise, where he's calling out for Athena.
it's I think it's easy to imagine that they could have been friends if not for this giant hurdle in their relationship, which is that she's in love with him and they're not compatible because Odysseus has room in his heart for only one person. I don't mean to sound like I'm glossing over this. We don't really get much for Calypso. This song and Love in Paradise are her only songs, other than there was a cut song called Appetite, which I actually have here. It's
Oh,
I'm not sure what the context is. I think it's Odysseus planning an attempted escape at the island. He he basically tries to seduce Calypso and he takes her to bed and he's like basically he says like wait for me while I freshen up, but he leaves. And that's all we get for like the demo. So we don't really know what brought this on or what happens next. I just know that GG animated it recently.
interesting. I haven't seen it or heard of it.
I think it's worth checking out. There's a lot of neat little details. Odysseus's theme when he's about to do something cunning plays before he makes the moves on Calypso. Uh, Gigi has him like touching her face, and then immediately like surreptitiously he wipes his hand. But yeah, anything else you want to say about Calypso or Not Sorry for Loving You?
Honestly, not really. There isn't really much.
It's not much of an apology. Just kind of like, sorry I offended you with my love, as we mentioned before. But that takes us to the next song. It's called Dangerous. Uh, no crew and no boat. So Odysseus is on his own. He's on his lonesome, and all he has is this little raft to take him home. But then Hermes shows up with the windbag, and I said it the last time. I think this is the only song you could really cut. I like it because I like Hermes and I like the song itself, but narratively, I don't really think it does anything except get Odysseus the windbag.
Unfortunately, like it's a really good song. It's really catchy, but I do see it not being like necessary for the plot. Like it could have been added to another song.
I'm trying to think of like ways you could justify this song existing. Like maybe if uh it's worth pointing out, it's here that they mentioned that the storm is by design created to prevent Odysseus from getting home. But I don't know, maybe if Aeolus came back, some, or he talked about Charybdis, because he talks about danger, but like only in the vague terms. He doesn't mention Charybdis.
But isn't no Aeolus is back very briefly, but she's back.
Is she?
There's let me find her line. Because it's right
Those are the
after he
Winions
mentions.
talking.
Is it the Winions?
Yeah.
It just, it might be. You know what? It might be the Winions, but it sounded like really similar to her, I guess, voice. But at the same time, she has the Winions constantly singing with her. So
Oh,
because I
I could
thought
be
the
wrong.
line
I could listen to it again.
that you won't get another time to try. I thought that line was said by Aeolus,
Hmm.
but it could be the Winions.
Yeah, I'm 90% sure it's just the Winions, but I could check it out.
I'm,
Anyway, wait. Can you hear me?
yes.
Okay, something happened with my sound. Not sure. Anyway. Uh. Yeah. It's gonna be dangerous. You need a change in mindset for this. You need to put it all on the line. Yada yada yada. Once again, just like in wouldn't you like Odysseus thanks Hermes and Hermes says don't thank me. The first time he says you very well may die, but this time he says I'm not the one who fought for you. But he doesn't elaborate. Because Odysseus asks then who, and he says haha, good luck.
Good luck.
Do we get word for how and why Hermes was able to secure the windbag? Was Aeolus just want to give him another chance, or
Um, you know what? I'm not sure.
the point is Hades Hermes is a bro. This is the second time
I
he
know
showed up
that
just to help.
it was most likely because of Zeus. Zeus was the one who sent Hermes to tell Calypso to free Odysseus, so he probably sent Hermes to get another win back from Aeolus. But the line, they went through so much, or maybe the we went through so much could be referencing God Games itself instead of they had to make a deal with Aeolus to do it.
Not sure. But anyway, the next track is Charybdis, where Odysseus encounters the titular beast. He's got nothing but his skills and his wit to evade her. And I think I remember saying, like, I wish Charybdis was a character, but you said that she's not really a monster in the sentient sort of sense.
No, that Charybdis is just is described as a whirlpool with like teeth,
Yeah,
but
like you wouldn't be able to
more like
talk to her.
no, it's more like just a raging whirlpool, I guess. But the it's like since this dangerous whirlpool took the lives of so many like ships and like people that the I guess Greeks at the time called Charybdis a monster like Scylla, even though it's not technically a monster, it's just a natural force.
She's not the same kind of monster.
No. But depending on the like artist's interpretation, they could turn Charybdis into a monster, like in the Hades 2
Hades,
game.
yeah.
That Charybdis is this actual sentient trying to kill you monster.
Oh well, I didn't mean to assume. I'll check my biases. Hashtag not all monsters.
Not
The
a
important
monster.
thing is, uh, Odysseus tears off some of his raft to choke her with. Is that right?
Or not like sort of. I guess he's like putting like pieces of the raft into the center of the whirlpool, which causes it to like shoot back out. I'm
Something
guessing
like
at least
that. She like she
that
spits out his raft and he's able he's able to escape.
sends him flying. Yeah.
It's kind of cool to see that Odysseus like he still got it, you know. It kind of makes
Even
the
after like all these years, yes.
yeah. It kind of makes it this oh, well, I should wait. I'm getting ahead of myself. Because Odysseus sees Ithaca in the distance. He's almost there, but then the music turns dark and you hear the synth coming in and Odysseus is like, "No." It's like when you're playing a video game and the health bar shows up and you can't see anything and it's just question mark question mark. It's like, "Oh jeez. What is it now? I thought that was the final boss." But it's not because Poseidon is back, baby, and he's here to settle the score. He says, "Finally, coward." This track is called "Get in the Water." Um, Odysseus says he's almost made it home, and he says that's where our paths collide. And he says he's got a reputation to uphold, so he can't let him go. And he says, "Get in the water." And I talked about this last time. I love this lyric because at this point, Odysseus is in this tiny little raft that Poseidon could capsize with like a flick of his pinky finger. But he tells him, Odysseus, to submit himself basically and get in the water so he could drown. But I think you said
Yes.
he says that because Odysseus isn't he can't be killed because the fates won't allow it,
Because
something
of the
like that.
fates. Yeah, that since Odysseus is destined to go home, uh Poseidon's sort of trying to like trick him to like willingly give up his life. Um to since Poseidon can't kill him directly, is like, oh, but if he like gets in the water and like wants to die himself, like, you know, he could do it that way.
But I have a question about that. Doesn't Poseidon kill him at the end of this song anyway?
That's hard to it's hard to tell because how would he like come back? You know? It that's this is why this like final two songs I feel like iffy about, because it leads to this giant epic boss battle, which is cool, but it's sort of like put, making this mortal man at the same level of a god.
Yeah, out of
So
nowhere.
I see it as like he was on the verge of dying, but didn't like fully die. Like he started to remember all his friends who he's fighting for, and then like locked in that, and then like led to the fight.
It definitely needs work. I'd like to see this be redrafted for the final album. But before we get there, obviously, there's nothing. The fates can't stop Poseidon from flooding Ithaca, so he threatens to kill fucking everyone in his kingdom, including, well, especially his wife and child, if he doesn't submit himself to the water. And Odysseus is he. This is the last time in the whole saga where Odysseus will try to bargain for his life and plead for mercy. He says it's been 10 years, we're both grieving. Can't you just let this go? And Poseidon says no. He says ruthlessness is mercy upon ourselves, and he fucking plunges Odysseus into the water.
I like the way that Poseidon says no. That it's sort of like he wishes he could, but he can't.
Yeah, there's a earlier line that suggests something like that too. When he says Odysseus, uh, aren't you tired, Poseidon? It's been 10 years. How long will this go? We're both hurting from losses, so why not leave this here and just go home? And Poseidon, this is not sung. It's spoken. He says, I can't. There's a layer of maybe part of him wants to, but either because he's so entrenched in this belief that he has, or maybe he would face retribution from Olympus. He has to uphold this reputation that he is the cruel sea god. He is the ocean's cruelty. But yeah, Odysseus, he's in the depths, he's drowning, and he hears Polites saying, "You can relax, my friend."
Once again.
Oh, and Eurylochus and his mom as well. Eurylochus says, "Look at all we've lost and all we've earned," from back in a puppeteer. And of course, his mom saying, "I'll stay in your heart." Anything else you want to say about this track before we get to the next one?
Not really, because both songs like lead into each
They're
other.
kind of like a package deal. Yeah.
Yeah.
So next is 600 Strike. Um, I guess we can be more concise this time. Me and Steven, we're not huge fans of this one. The
Unfortunate.
windbag comes back into play, and it is very uncharacteristically unclear what is happening in much of this song. At least for me. Is he like weaponizing the storm? Is that what's going on here?
Basically, a lot of animatics show it as sort of like a jetpack in a way, and he's using it to like
He uses it to
fly.
propel himself
Like,
from the water. That much I realize.
I'm interested to see like Neil's depiction of this because Neil's takes have been more realistic in a way instead of like realistic, but like
It's
I
more
say that loose.
readable.
Yes,
A
like
lot of the
Neil's version
animatics
of
haven't
like
helped me.
Neil did get in the water,
Yes.
um, and I love I loved her take on it because it felt more like compact compared to a lot of other ones.
Yeah, the word I use is readable. Like it's very clear what's
Yeah,
happening.
yes. So I know she's doing 600 strikes, so I can't wait to see how she
Oh,
does
is she
it. But
really?
yes, I'm excited for it. Um, but I don't know. It's like this anime fight now, where he's flying around really fast, slicing up Poseidon. Um,
Hitting him with the power of 600 dead souls. It's like, oh, jeez.
Yeah, so I don't it's weird in a way. I don't know.
Well, the weirdness is just getting started, I'm afraid, because after he slams into Poseidon, he 600 strikes him. Odysseus is like, "Hey, idiot, you opened the bag, and now you have the storm, and you're not getting home." And Odysseus says, "You're going to call off that storm." And Poseidon says, "Why? You can't kill me." And Odysseus says, "Exactly. The thing about immortality, it is not the same necessarily as being invincible." So he picks up the trident, Odysseus. He picks up the trident and begins stabbing Poseidon with it repeatedly. And I don't know how else to describe this. Poseidon is like screaming and crying and begging for his life. I don't think it's an exaggeration to say that. And the whole time Odysseus is like, you know, how does it feel to be helpless? How does it feel to know pain? Basically, he's like, look what you've turned me into. This is the monster that you created, etc. And he finishes it with, "Didn't you say that ruthlessness was mercy upon?" He doesn't finish because Poseidon's like, "All right, please." And
I
he
can't.
calls him a monster, like the song. And Poseidon relents, and he calls off the storm, and he lets Odysseus leave. He says, after everything, "How will you sleep at night?" And Odysseus says, "Next to my wife," which is a badass line. But in terms of the way his conflict with Poseidon is concluded, I don't find it entirely satisfying.
No, I definitely agree. Poseidon like begging, I don't sort of feels out of
It just,
character.
yeah, it feels out of character, and
Like
just like it doesn't it doesn't sit right with me. It comes off as, I don't quite believe it that he would be at the mercy of this normal man,
yeah, like
nor that he would beg him to stop.
even if he was hit with this storm, which is, his storm, like is everything that he just went through like enough to like knock him down and start begging for his life? Even
Yeah,
like
how
I
is
don't
he
know.
this vulnerable? And I know what they're going for narratively. It's like, he's become the monster, and now he's using brute force. But we just saw him use like cunning and guile to deal with Charybdis. It would have been nice to see him use a combination,
Yes.
If he had Poseidon and, I mean, I'm not sure how you'd write it, but if he got Poseidon in some kind of stalemate where the options are let him go and release the storm or like suffer in some kind of way, but not like this. I think this needs some work.
And I guess narratively that's the struggle of it. Like how do they
Yeah.
resolve this? Because in the original story it was that the other gods had to get involved to tell Poseidon to like back off. Um but in
Oh, I
this
think
is
that's how
not
you do it. Get them in.
the other. Yeah, I think we meant like bringing in Athena or Ares or any of the other gods to help
Yeah, there
uh
needs to be other gods here to
Odysseus.
give him leverage.
But
Athena could
because
be
it's
like, "I'll tell
only
Zeus on you."
since it's only Poseidon and Odysseus, it's just I don't know.
Yeah, this probably should have been the point where Athena came back. But hey, that's just not the story we got. But that's the end of the Vengeance Saga. We are now on the Ithaca Saga, the final chapter. Okay. The first track is the challenge, which you had a lot to say about the last time.
Yes.
I'm curious if you want to take the lead on this one, or if you want to do what we did last time.
We could do what we did last time, where you describe it. I'll say like what I really love about it.
Sure thing. It's funny. We've heard Penelope's voice throughout the saga. They found ways to implement the singer, either through like visions or through the siren. But this is our first song that is a Penelope song, like an honest to God. This is Penelope. She is singing about how every night she starts working on a tapestry. She starts weaving it, but then she's told the suitors that she'll pick one after she's finished, but every night she undoes it. But she is holding out hope for Odysseus to return. But time's running out. Those suitors, man, they're getting antsy. They're getting impatient. But she's seeing the storm, because it was that close to Ithaca, and she's taking it as a sign that something is about to change. So she sees it as it's her time to put together a challenge and buy Odysseus those precious few minutes. So she arranges a challenge that is supposed to be impossible by design, right? It's like she says, whoever can string Odysseus's old bow and shoot it cleanly through 12 axes, they will get to, win her hand, essentially. She says, I would rather die than grow old without the best of you, which is a lyric that I like. We talked about it last time. Uh, we know better, and we know she's talking about Odysseus, but to the suitors, it could easily be just whoever wins.
I'll definitely describe like what's like the significance of it. On unless you're like done there.
Yeah, that's essentially what happens. I mean, the waiting motif is back.
What I love first with the line that you said that I'll rather grow old without the best of you. That line signifies like she first Odysseus is considered the best of the Greeks ever since the death of Achilles, because during the Trojan War Achilles was the best of the best, but he unfortunately died, which then it was sort of like up to debate because there were like a lot of other guy or other soldiers that could have been the best, but a lot of people do see Odysseus as the next best Greek after the death of Achilles. So she would rather grow old without the best of you, meaning since Odysseus is the best, she would rather grow old, um, or would rather die. I mean, instead of grow, she would rather die without Odysseus. Um, and some like parts of this song is parts of like a cut song. And I'm trying to find a line. Like the suitor saying like time is fleeting, is running out, time to be
The
the
man
man
of
of
the
the
house,
house.
which is from a cut song, and I think Odysseus is singing that part.
Yes, the cut song is Odysseus singing about his father, um, who isn't in the musical at all, doesn't have any significance here, but he's like very much alive. But the cut song is like the father has like dementia or something. The line is like he's losing his mind as he's getting older. It's time for Odysseus to be the man of the house. But the song was cut, but parts of it was like repurposed for like other songs, such as here.
I think Where Is He is from that cut song as well, right?
Yes. I'm trying to think what else I said that the the thing that Penelope says that she's like weaving, but she's like unthreading each night. Um, the shroud that she's
Yes.
making it for the father of Odysseus.
Mm-hmm.
So it still has like this important like significance to the story, but we don't know why, which I guess is odd. It's like, okay, she's making this like she's like sewing this piece of clothing. So unless you know what's the significance behind a shroud in, I guess, mythology or in ancient Greece, you're sort of like, I guess the suitors were just didn't care. They just accepted any excuse.
It's just, yeah, because this is my perspective. I didn't know that context before you told me. It was just a stalling tactic. That's all it was.
But it is a shroud hat does have some sort of like important significance that they even the suitors would respect. Um, Eventually they did find out that she was like unweaving it each night
Oh yeah.
and like forced her to actually finish. But then it was around the time where she started the like 12 axis challenge that was basically impossible for anyone except Odysseus. And in some stories Telemachus could do it, but the this like old bow of Odysseus can only be strung by Odysseus because there's like technique behind it, where first you have to like heat it up over a fire to even make it like bendable, but then you need like godlike strength to even be able to bend it.
Yeah, I heard it was like super heavy or something like that.
Yes. Not only like bending is heavy, the bow is heavy, just even like pulling back the string to shoot, like all of it was impossible for like the regular man, especially these men who don't fight or have never fought in an actual war, so they've never like really trained or anything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I quite like this track. I'm liking it more and more the more I listen to it. My coworker, this is one of her favorite songs. She said it's because she's also obsessed with Penelope, much like Odysseus. But I like her voice. I like how it goes from being vulnerable to like powerful. I like the. It's kind of amazing how much we learn about Penelope just through this song. It tells us so much about what Odysseus would have saw in her, uh, why he would have fallen for her to begin with, right? Because
Yes.
there's a cut song, which I actually have up on screen, called "I Need Her to Be Mine." He talks about like how clever she is and stuff like that, right?
Yeah, I haven't heard it, but I just know that Penelope is like one of the few people who could like match Odysseus' like cunningness.
Yeah, and it's that what attracted him to her, and not necessarily her beauty, even though she is described to be quite beautiful as well.
Yep, it's just like a bonus for him.
Yeah, and even asked for Athena for help, asking her out, which is adorable.
And they did get like engaged and whatnot at a pretty like early age. So they've been in love for a while.
Well, the animatic I had up had them as children, small children.
You know, possibly. Um, because I'm going off of the Song of Achilles, where we like it led to like Helen choosing a husband and all this, but at this time Achilles and was like a child. Odysseus was there in the story, but he was like really young still. But even though it was like years before anything major happened, like years before the Trojan War and whatnot, he was still like engaged and talking about Penelope at this age, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like he was probably in his teens or something.
I think Man of the House says she's the one that he saved his virginity for, which, hell yeah, he won. But yeah, that's the challenge. It's, yeah, combined with the bow, firing it through 12 axe heads is you'd have to have legendary archery skills to accomplish something like that, which is what she's counting on. Anything else you want to say about this track?
Uh, no, I think that's it.
All right, well, that brings us along to a villain track that I think is very, very sickening. In
Pretty, pretty problematic of what's said, but it's still
it's a
like
banger.
super good.
Yeah, my coworker said she can't she has trouble listening to this song because of like the lyrics and how explicit they get, but I just can't help myself. It's called Hold Them Down. So Antinuous, he's like, this is bullshit. We can't do this. We're being played. It's time for us gamers to rise up and don't stop letting them hold us down. We can't wait. We gotta strike. We gotta take action now. So he rallies his guys. Oh, at the beginning of the song, they reprise the part of the challenge where she talks about the challenge, so like the stringing the bow and shooting it through the
Yes.
axis. But anyway, Antinuous, he's got a grand plan. He's gonna tell us all about it. He's like, hey, the prince isn't here. He is on a diplomatic mission. And I think you said this comes up in the Odyssey, the book.
Yes, where this like diplomatic mission, so quote unquote, is actually like the beginning of the Odyssey, like what leads to it. It's Telemachus going to like different like parts of Greece trying to figure out what happened to Odysseus after the Trojan War. So he's going to like people who fought with him to figure out like if they know if he's made it home or if he gone somewhere or if he even died, and he's also like trying to recruit people to help fight off the suitors.
Ah, so does he get the story and like does it follow Telemachus and he's getting bits of the story and like pieces?
At first, yes. He's like learning from Nestor and I need to see the names again, but or Menelaus as well. But yes, he's going around getting like uh bits of what's happened to Odysseus, but no one really knows because after they sailed away, they all went on their own like journeys, I guess. They all had their own problems to worry about, couldn't just deal with Odysseus's stuff.
Yeah, fair enough. Oh, by the way, I just checked the time. Do you remember when I said that maybe this will be faster?
Yes, it's definitely not faster.
We've already gone longer than the previous attempt.
It just means we have a lot more to say.
Well, I can already say I like this one better, so hopefully it works. Anyway, Antinuous, I like the singer. I'll say again, especially when he sings, "Where in the hell is our pride and our rage?" But the plan is wait till Telemachus comes back from his trip, gather near the beaches, strangle him, cut his throat, break his bones, throw his body into water. He is very explicit that that's what he plans to do. And then he says, with the prince out of the way, there will be nothing stopping us from entering Penelope's room and essentially having our way with her. I won't get into the lyrics in case they make anyone uncomfortable, but it's very explicit what he and the boys plan on doing to Penelope. And then he's
Which
yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, which is a bit odd because there's technically nothing stopping them now because they already don't respect Telemachus. So, you know,
Yeah.
they if they really wanted to, they could already do it. But I guess there's some level of honor.
They just see him
Some
as an obstacle. They don't want to have to deal with him, I guess.
yeah.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but this is invented by the musical. This doesn't come up in the this doesn't come up from Otinius and Otinius. Antinuous in the original book?
To kill Telemachus?
No, to go in Penelope's room and
Um hmm. I'm not sure. Cause I'm still like in the middle of reading it. And the last thing I've read is that they learned that Telemachus is actually like going through with the idea of like recruiting people and like sailing around Greece and whatnot. So what they're doing right now is like waiting near the shores for him. Um, but what they plan to do after is, I guess, still unknown to me, still vague.
Oh,
But
okay.
I don't think it's an original.
It'd be
Like
interesting
I'm,
if it was, considering that like they almost shy away from it in regards to Circe and Calypso.
it would be interesting.
But anyway, Antinuous, he's stoking the fires. He's like, yeah, yeah, let's get it done, lads. Let's do this. He's finishing the song. He's saying, hold them down. But the guy is killed mid sentence. So if you expected like a big boss fight with him, he is the first one out. He's the only one with a name, and he's gone.
Which I'm not gonna lie, I really enjoy.
I like this. I'm sure there are
The
people out
first,
there who don't like this decision. We don't get much for the suit. Antinuous is like the face of the suitors, so
yeah,
he doesn't have much character other than that. They're all this interchangeable in terms of character, so I don't mind that he was the first to go.
there was an original like or concept of them actually fighting back and Antinous like stabbing Odysseus from behind and them actually having an actual fight. But Jorge didn't like really like that idea. Like he wanted Odysseus to be seen as this actual monster that they can't overcome, which leads us to his song. But
I think
you'll
it's a
cover.
smart decision because it'd be easier to see him Antinuous as the final boss, but I think what we're meant to think is that it's Odysseus himself, and the song Odysseus is like from the perspective of the suitors, and Odysseus is the monster.
Yes.
Oh, and there are some animatics that do this to the point where I consider it to be like this is my head canon. Odysseus fires the arrow through the 12 axes when he kills Antinous, making him the winner of the challenge.
Which I didn't picture when I first heard it, but I really like it.
I like that interpretation a lot. But yeah, time for Odysseus' song. In my notes, I have written Daddy's Home. He says, for 20 years, I've suffered through all this shit gods, monsters. I've killed people. I've lost people. And now I come back home. My house is a mess. And then, I find out that you plan on killing my son and touching my wife. You can just hear how fucking done he is. Especially when he says, I have had enough. This song can only be described as it's a slaughter. It is completely one-sided in Odysseus' favor. If you look at this song from the perspective of the suitors, this is just this this creature just slinking around in the darkness and picking people off with a ranged weapon that they can't contend with. He's basically a creature that can see in the dark, and you have no clue what's going on. people are dropping like flies around you, and you don't know if you're going to be next.
Just like with Scylla.
Yes, the title of this song needs to be emphasized. This song is called Odysseus. So the only other songs that are named after characters are Polyphemus, Scylla, and Charybdis, who are all monsters. That is not an accident. Odysseus is the monster of this song. His name is being chanted in the danger motif. He is what's his name? I don't know his name, but one of the suitors, he's trying to gather his brothers and desperately plan for a strategy, just like Odie did with his crew back when they were dealing with the Cyclops. And they make a point to mention that he's going after the people holding the torches, which is a direct comparison to Scylla. This is incredibly satisfying to listen to, way more than 600 Strike, because he is being ruthless, but he's taking advantage of the knowledge he has over them as well. Everything he's learned over his journey, his knowledge of his own palace. He's dealt with gods and monsters, and these are just men. They're like nothing to him. So I've seen people complain that it's completely one-sided. I think it's more than earned and justified.
If it should be one-sided, honestly.
Yeah, I honestly, I'd be like wondering what's going on if it wasn't. I mean, this guy he just beat a god into submission.
Exactly. Like he somehow beat Poseidon, and
Somehow.
you don't think he's going to overcome a couple guys in his own house?
Yeah, he's got every advantage. Home field advantage, the monster advantage. Uh,
Plus, not only is he like stronger, more cunning, like he also hid away older weapons.
that's right. He
So
hid them in the armory, and they're like, "Hey, we can use these." And there's a guy who's like, "You, I can't believe that he just leave these laying around." And the other guy's like, "It doesn't matter. Pick up a weapon. We can turn the tides in our favor." It was a trap. Odysseus, he slays everyone inside.
with the help of Telemachus.
Yes, who joins in during this part of the track, and you can hear Athena's like her little quick thought sound effect. It's very fast, and Jorge says that's meant to signify that they're like in perfect sync. He's become a pretty great fighter in a relatively short amount of time. Yeah, he gets in a few good licks. However, the suitors are able to overwhelm him. They see him as a potential hostage. They can use it to get an edge in their fight with Odysseus. They're like, "Hey, grab the boy. We're gonna grab the prince, and he's gonna be our hostage. And if Odysseus does anything, we'll just kill him." Odysseus is having none of that. He kills them all. One of them, he says, "Hey man, you killed our leader. We're not a threat to you. Can mercy, please?" Oh,
He says,
yeah, he says, "Can
let,
we try open arms?"
and Odysseus just flat out no.
No,
He's done with the whole open arms
he's
idea.
done. He's on the other end of the spectrum now. One of them cries for mercy, and he says, "My mercy has long since drowned. It died to bring me home, and as long as you are around, my family's fate is left unknown. You plotted to kill my son. You planned to rape my wife. All of you are going to die. You filled my heart with hate. All of you who have done me wrong, this will be your fate." And yeah, he ends all of their lives. It is a bloodbath, and it is cool as fuck. I love the part where one of the guys, he's like, "Hey, we can move around in the dark. He'll never see us coming." And then he says, "You think I don't know my own palace? I built it." Which is like, damn, because it's probably true. I can believe he would have designed and built the palace himself.
Yes, Odysseus is, well, as you could probably tell by now, is like rare amongst the Greeks. Like he likes building things. He likes like manual labor and stuff. So him building his own palace is definitely like in character.
On the cards.
Yes. Like a lot of like the ships that he's, worked with, he built himself. Like he built the raft that got him home.
Yeah, that's right. He has a lot of ingenuity. He's got a combination of strength and brains. Like he is the whole package, dare I say.
Yes.
Anything else you want to say about this track?
Which was really, I I want to say something a little bit about Odysseus, that
Yeah.
a lot of Greeks loved him for, his strength and mind, but he was seen as like the villain, or like quote unquote like the devil to like the Romans, to the Trojans, because
Oh yeah.
he was able to like outwit them, and that they were sort of like they were afraid of that.
Yeah, especially after this adventure, like everybody should be fucking afraid, terrified of this guy. He came back
But
and
I
he
think
lived to
that's
tell
it.
the tale.
This was definitely like one of my favorite songs,
I think so.
if not my favorite.
I think it's incredible, like narratively. But that takes us to, we're in the
I
home
can't
stretch. These are the last two tracks. So the song is called "I Can't Help But Wonder," and it's the short version is this is the reunion between Odysseus and Telemachus, as well as his reunion with Athena. But I think you mentioned last time it's a bit of a tonal whiplash compared to the last one.
Yes, that, and it's like I love they reunited and whatnot, but I don't like the sudden like change of Odysseus saying, I'm going to kill all of you. This will be your fate. To,
Oh my
well,
son,
you'll say the lines, but um, to like, oh my boy,
my
my
son.
sweet baby boy,
Yeah,
son, my sweetest joy, and I don't know. It's just I'm not expecting Odysseus to be like screaming at this grungy voice at his son, but it's such a like sudden switch that I wish there was like a filler song
we
in
could have used a
between.
buffer.
Yes.
There's some missed opportunities too for like reoccurring motifs because as far as I can tell, this is almost entirely original, which isn't strictly a bad thing, but I
It's original up until the reunion with Athena.
oh yeah, because he says show yourself.
Yes. But with Telemachus, I think it's original. If they had something here mentioning like maybe Little Wolf, that would have been nice.
Well, I'm thinking about the lyrics you said where he said like my sweet baby boy and stuff like that. Don't you think they could
Yes.
have found a way to recall Odysseus talking to the baby and just a man, where he's not just a man, horse and the
Mm,
infant, where he said it's just an infant, it's just a boy.
they,
I think there's something there. There's something we could have done something with that.
yeah, something could have been done.
But even the part with Athena, I didn't realize until you brought it up the last time we tried this. There is no reincorporation Besides where he says, "Show yourself." There's no reincorporation of warrior of the mind, my goodbye, or even will be fine,
which is such a missed
which is
opportunity because
strange. It's downright strange to me.
Athena and Odysseus reunion is so like short, and I mean, how much can really be said between the two, but at the same time, like it's been 10 years and they've been together for most of Odysseus's life. I wish there was more.
I can't help but feel like these two should have had a song, and it should have taken place before his reunion with his song. That could have been the buffer song, right? Athena pulls him
Yes.
into the quick thought dimension, and they have one last conversation. Because the conversation is Athena saying that maybe there is a place for mercy and empathy in the world, that she's coming around to that. And Odysseus says that, that's great, but that won't be me. Like, I've changed too much. I think that's really mature conclusion to their story. But the fact that it's like it's tacked on to the end here, I don't want to say
Yeah.
tacked on. A good half is devoted to it, but I think it should have been a song on its own, both as to function as their goodbye to each other, as well as you know putting a cushion between Odysseus and I Can't Help But Wonder.
I feel like it would have been cool to show it towards the end of Odysseus like finishing off the suitors. Maybe not all of them, like, but towards the very end where she enters the quick thought like dimension for Odysseus, and they have this talk as Odysseus at the same time is killing off the suitors, where she's saying like, mercy wouldn't be a bad idea. He's killing the suitors, saying like, that's not me anymore.
Or maybe kind of like they did with Remember Them, like right at the end of the song, she pulls him in, and then we have a song just for them, and then we have I Can't Help But Wonder.
Yes. So like if she pulled in Odysseus at the end of the song Odysseus, and then they have that their own song together, then it switches over to Telemachus and Odysseus.
Yeah. There are better ways I think they could have handled this.
But I'm not gonna lie, I would say it's sort of like tacked on because it's like the last like quarter of the song, maybe even less, like eighty
You're probably
percent,
right.
80% of the song is Telemachus and Odysseus, and then there's only like
The remaining 20.
yeah, maybe not even. Like they only have
Oh
like
yeah, because
two.
Telemachus comes back at the end.
Yeah, like between the two of them, there's only like four things of dialogue, not lines, but like I guess
Oh, you're
sections.
right, because I'm looking at the lyrics and they only have like one exchange. Odysseus has a verse. Sorry, Athena has a verse. Odysseus has a verse, and Athena says very well, and she's gone.
And I don't know, it sucks. I'm not going to
I
lie,
can't help but be disappointed.
especially that this is the first time we see Athena, like actually see Athena instead of like her instrument since God Game.
Yeah, wouldn't it have been cool if she was all like, scarred from the battle, and Odysseus can be like, not even like what happened to you. He can look at her and just know that she was the one who fought for him.
Yes.
God damn, man. We missed out.
So I do enjoy Telemachus and Odysseus reunion, but
Me too.
the I love I love the upcoming reunion so much more.
Yeah, I gotta revise my ranking because this next one definitely overtakes this one. Let's talk about it, shall we? Would you fall
Yeah.
in love with me again? All right. I'll talk about what happens, and then we can talk about why it's fucking good. So, Odysseus, he finally sees his wife, his everything, his Penelope, after 20 years for the first time. What a way to close out the saga. This has been everything he's been working towards the for the entire musical from song 1. His goal was to come back to her. And now he has, and he's afraid. In a way, the final boss of Epic is Penelope herself. Her I quite like her first lines to him. They're very much what you expect from a concerned wife. You know, she's like, "You look frail. Have you eaten? Your eyes look tired. Your smile looks torn." And then she asks, "Is it really you?" And Odysseus says, "I'm not the man you fell in love with. I'm not the same after everything I've done. I'm not the your kind and gentle husband," he says. And he asks, "Would you fall in love with me again after everything?" And Penelope asks, "What sort of things have you done? What are you talking about?" She asks him to elaborate. And he says, "I've killed so many people. I've gotten to the point where I was trading friends like objects. I've hurt people. And I did all of that to get back to you." And Penelope, she takes some time to consider this. And she simply says, "Hey, that bed over there, could you move it? It's their wedding bed." And Odysseus says, how could you say that? That's our wedding bed. It is carved into the root of the olive tree where they first met. And so not only is it very not only would it be impossible to do this, it is extremely sentimental. Uh, I think when he says it'd be impossible, he means it in both ways, that it'd be physically and emotionally impossible to do something like that. And he says, "How could you ask me this?" And Penelope's like, "Okay, idiot, my husband knew that, so you must be him." "Nah, because I thought we were asking stupid questions. Of course, I'll fall in love with you again, over and over." She pulls one last trick on him, and she proclaims that she will love Odysseus now and forever. And Odysseus has no choice but to concede. And the two declare their love for each other. And that is the end of the saga and the entire soundtrack, the musical. The story, it's just a conversation between a husband and his wife. And I shouldn't even use the word just because there's so much more than that, but it's not a fight, it's just a conversation that it's extremely loaded with emotions that have been carried through this whole thing. We've seen this man grow and change and decay and come back a completely different person. There are a lot of animatics that have Odysseus gain red eyes after Poseidon drowns him, and then they keep him. They keep the red eyes for these encounters. I think that's cringe. I don't. I don't think that's cool or badass.
I'm not gonna lie, I agree. Like, because the red eyes, I guess, is to symbolize that he's a changed man. He's still this like monster, but
Yeah,
that's sort of like too
it's
on the
too
nose, I
overt.
guess, to
Yeah,
signify.
the reason I bring that up is because that's the subtext, and I like it to be in the subtext. I don't want that to be like a permanent change to his design.
Yes.
Thankfully, this one doesn't do
But
that.
I love like this. Penelope is constantly saying like that she's been waiting and waiting, and she's like singing wait like I'm not going to sing it myself, but waiting,
The waiting
um,
motif.
which is like which is what the mom was doing.
Yep.
And also, I want to go back a little bit to the wedding bed that Odysseus like created his entire palace like centered around this like wedding bed tree. Since they can't move the tree, so he like built around it,
They built
which
a
I
palace
just
there.
yes, and I love that.
That is incredibly romantic. Like, Odysseus, man, what a what a guy. I'm taking notes. This song is breathtaking. The instruments at play, the lyrics. You have Odysseus's nylon guitar, which only comes out during his sensitive moments, but you can just faintly hear the electric guitar when Penelope presents the challenge to him, which is significant because it only comes up when he's about to do something like cunning and like his badass moments, and Penelope's having one of those. There are callbacks to ruthlessness and
And just a
Thunderbringer.
man,
Yeah, just a
I,
man.
I just a man comes up when at the very end when Penelope says that she's waiting for Odysseus, waiting for you. Then we hear the just a man, but like the like instrumental version of it.
Yeah, and it has Poseidon's triplets and his trumpets, and it shows that yes, he has changed like fundamentally, ways that are more than likely irreversible, but he is still he's still a good man. He's still just a man, but when it comes up in the song Just a Man, it's almost as a way of like lowering him. But here is to say that he's not a monster. He's human. He's a man who reacted the way a human would, doing whatever he needed to, what he felt he needed to get back to the one that he loves. It's that love that he held on to. That's what makes him a man. It's what makes him human. It's what gives him his humanity. And the woman who has been married to him all this time and has been waiting for 20 years, she's not going to stop now because of this journey that he's been on.
The only other time Just a Man comes up in the musical, and it's not supposed to be like a moment where the character's about to do something bad, like throw a baby off of a roof or kill a cow, was
Mm-hmm.
with Calypso when Odysseus was saying, "I'm not your man." So
Yes.
it's still relating back to Penelope that he's already taken. He's not Calypso's like person.
Yeah. Um, I'm trying to think about like what to say about this song that hasn't been said already. This song gets praise to high heaven, and it deserves all the praise it gets. Like Jorge did a breakdown of this, and it's like 8 minutes long, and I don't even know if I've gotten everything.
This is one of those songs that I feel like really just speaks for itself.
Yeah, it's the culmination of everything. So to listen to it, you have to listen to these songs in order. It's like watching
Yes.
the finale of a really good TV show without seeing the rest of it.
Yes, if you listen to this song without listening to the rest, you won't have the same like attachment to it because you won't know what Odysseus went through and what he had to do to get home, and what also I guess Penelope did herself in the earlier songs to while she was waiting.
Yeah.
I guess you
It's
won't even know like Odysseus's like level of love for Penelope.
yeah, the fact that he is this vulnerable and like weak before her. He has spent this whole journey having to find ways to outsmart and outwit all these creatures and gods and monsters and people. And this is a battle of wits, and it's with his own wife, and he loses. Like, it's completely one sided. Like, she trounces him with just one question.
It's just perfect in
The
every
hero
way.
gets beaten at his own game, and it's satisfying. Like, how did you do that? Yeah, I can see why this is a favorite for so many people. It's one of mine. Shit. I listen to it very sparingly because I don't want it to lose its power, you know?
Yeah, I agree.
But that, my friends, is the conclusion to Epic the Musical. Incredibly good. I was very impressed. Very good lyrics, instrumentation, implementation of motifs, and of course the story. It's a high concept, a radical concept, executed very, very well. It's what gives it a lot of points for me. There are very few properties that I, you know, desperately, like Jehovah's Witness desperate, try to convince people to take in. Avatar is one of them. Arcane season 1. This is up there now too. Everyone I care about, I'm telling them to listen.
I tell whoever I can to listen, but I do have to give like a little, I guess, subtext that there's a chance you might not enjoy it. Like if you don't like if you don't like Greek mythology, I'm not sure if this will change your mind.
Oh yeah,
Maybe it
fair
will.
enough.
Maybe it will. Maybe it won't. Um, but it's still like worth a listen, like worth a shot. Because for a lot of people, this is what introduced them to both musicals and to Greek mythology.
Yeah, I would say it could make a good gateway. It's very
Especially
approachable.
especially with Christopher Nolan's movie coming up uh, of
Oh
the
yeah.
Odyssey.
I think it's gonna be brought into the mainstream then.
Yeah, so a lot of people are going to learn about the Odyssey because of Christopher Nolan. A lot of people learned about the Odyssey because of Epic, but now people will be able to like compare the two.
The movie might draw a lot of people to listen to Epic and vice versa.
Yes.
All right. Do we have a favorite song or saga?
Favorite saga might be Circe's. Um, I don't know. I love, but at the same time, I also love the Ithaca saga, the Yami saga. Like, it's so hard to choose like one favorite because there's so many like songs that I love.
Mm-hmm. The Cersei saga is definitely the one I listen to the most, but my favorite it may very well be the Thunder saga. I might have said the Wisdom saga once upon a time, but I think it's the Thunder saga. But it's always changing.
it it really is always changing.
Favorite song?
This is another one that's always changing. At the moment, I want to say it's the challenge. because this
Mm.
is where we fully hear Penelope and her motif in like completion. It's not like some altered version. And I love how we know so much about her already, even though we're just meeting her for real for the first time.
Yeah,
And
it's a hell of an introduction.
her voice and like what she's doing, it's just amazing.
Um,
Anna Leah, I
yeah,
think is the voice. Amazing. Literally one of my favorite voices here. Same with Athena.
we should talk about the casting. It's like it's A1.
I know some of them are people Jorge knew beforehand, but a lot of them were found through like TikTok and stuff. Uh, which is honestly super cool that it's not some like professional like I don't know how studios go about like recruiting people, but having it be done through like social media makes it more community based, I guess.
It's like approachable. The entry level is lower because there's a lot of talent like down on the ground, and the, the idea that someone on TikTok who might not necessarily become famous, but they're really good at singing, can get picked up by a project like this and get recognition through it is something really great to see. I think the um
Yes.
the singer for Aphrodite, she recently made a video explaining how she got the opportunity to play the character in Epic. She was into Greek mythology already, and she was singing her own songs. And Jorge picked her up, and now she's making like her own music.
See, I love that so much.
Yeah, it's really cool. I think Hephaestus as well is voiced by his dad.
Yes. Hephaestus is his dad. Odysseus's mom is Jorge's actual
His
mom.
actual mom.
And Circe is Jorge's girlfriend.
Really?
Yes,
I didn't know that. Huh. Well, they all do an incredible job.
they do.
I think God Games was is my favorite in terms of concept, but in terms of like concept and execution, honestly, my mind goes to Suffering. Like that song is it accomplishes quite a lot in a pretty short amount of time. I don't know. I have to think about it some more. I'm gonna roll it around. And I'm gonna hit you with like the most oddball choice.
At one point, before Act Two even released, I would say, like back in Act One, that There Are Other Ways was probably my favorite.
Hmm.
And I don't know what specifically about it that I just like fell in love with. But
Was it the
it was
demo at that time, or it was the whole song?
it was a whole song. It's like the I guess instrumental that there's a it's such a like like switch up from Done For. Uh, I need to like listen to it to like describe it.
I kind of get what you mean.
But
Like the the instruments do a lot of work in that track to convey
it
like
changes like
the vulnerability, especially when Vanellope's theme comes in.
yes.
You get like it's Cersei's theme, and it's like interwoven with like Odysseus's and Penelope's.
I love how Cersei. I just love Cersei's character of her, you know, eventually deciding to help out Odysseus instead of like just killing him and his men and whatnot. That she was like, why not? It's despite Poseidon.
It's strange that because I was thinking of this was giving me the big think. We technically know less about Cersei than we know about Calypso in terms of backstory, but she feels like a more rounded character. Isn't that strange? Like everything we know about Circe is like only in vague terms. Like we're not. Well, you might know better because you've read the book, but
Yeah.
Calypso, we know exactly what her deal is, but
You know
Cersei
what?
feels more like a character, even though they have roughly the same amount of uh, screen time, for lack of a better term.
Calypso has the two songs, while Cersei has three.
Oh, she
Puppeteer,
has
Done
three,
For.
doesn't she? Yeah.
There are other ways. Um, but in terms of like backstory, we don't know anything until there are other ways where she says that she was in love once before and that she has to protect her nymphs. But other than that,
We get a little bit of
there's
that in Done For as well, because she says the last time we let strangers live, we faced a heavy loss.
yes, but we don't know like what
We don't know
happens.
details.
So that is interesting.
Yeah, she's I really appreciate Cersei's character. She's surprisingly compelling.
Out of like all like the gods and goddesses, titans, she's definitely like one of the more like down to earth ones.
Mm-hmm. She's just kind of in her own sphere. She won't mess with you unless you feel like you're messing with her.
Part of it is also that she was, I guess, picked, not like picked on, but disliked by other gods. She was always seen as like a weaker goddess or titan. Uh, didn't really live up to the standards of her like siblings, the other children of Helios. Um, a lot of gods, and this is from Madeline Miller's book, so I'm not sure if it's in like actual mythology.
Hmm.
They said that they didn't like her voice, which is interesting because
Oh,
they said that it sounded very well. Hermes was the one who was able to describe it. That it's not that she had a bad voice, but it sounded too much like a mortal instead of a god.
all right.
But yeah, that's some
Yeah, I
like
wouldn't
little
know what
lore
that
talk.
means.
Honestly, I'm not even sure either. Like, how would you describe a god's voice? This booming effect, I guess.
Booming, yeah.
But at the same time, we're like hearing. I guess it's hard to describe unless we hear a god's voice ourselves,
Yeah,
because
we don't have a
every
lot
voice
of
we hear is
reference
going to
for
be a
that.
human. Um, but yes, like Apollo, god of music, hates hearing Circe talk.
Because her voice sounds ungodlike.
Yes, but they never describe it as ungodlike until Hermes is the one who tells Circe that.
Hmm.
Um, all the other gods just make it sound like it sounds shrill. It doesn't. It's just unpleasing to hear. It's screeching, but when she actually speaks, it's nothing like that. Like she
It's like
sounds
normal.
amazing, but she sounds amazing to human standards,
Humans.
mortals.
Yeah. Those gods, man. How did the depiction of these gods, how do they compare to like other depictions? Like Hades and Hercules and whatever else we've seen.
First in like Disney's Disney Hercules, or damn, I was going to say with Hades, like that's a whole different. That's a terrible depiction of Hades. But we don't see Hades in Epic. But like Zeus's depiction,
This is my
Zeus.
favorite Zeus.
Yeah, I agree. Zeus is one of those characters that is like he's different each interpretation, but there's certain traits that carry on no matter what. And one of it being, God King full of himself.
Yes, excessive amounts of pride and arrogance. Which, in fairness, most of the time he can back it up.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. This is. I don't think I was gonna say this is my favorite like asshole Poseidon, but I don't think I've seen any other asshole Poseidons.
The only other one I know is from the God of War games, from the original trilogy,
Oh, yeah, that's right. He's an
where
asshole. Yeah, you're right. That Poseidon's in it. He's a dick.
like I feel like all the Greek gods in that like universe were like dicks,
Yeah, that is a universe of dicks.
and that's why they all ended up dying.
They all died. Yeah, and you don't feel bad about it. I quite like cool Uncle Poseidon from Hades. I think he still might be my favorite.
I feel like the Hades games really captures a lot of the characters, like actual traits.
Oh yeah, they're a lovable bunch. I love all the gods in that game. All right. Um, you want to wrap it up here?
Yeah, we've been going on for what, almost
3 hours.
almost okay, I was about to say almost 4, but yeah, 3.
3 hours approaching 3 hours 15 minutes. Whoo boy, this better work. Mr. Steven, is there anything that you are up to currently that you would like to tell people about? Where can we find you?
The main place you can find me is on Instagram. Uh at the moment I'm not really posting much because I'm just focused on like schoolwork and getting work done, so social media is sort of on the side at the moment, but eventually I'll get back to like posting whatever I can.
Excellent.
Yeah,
Well, links will be in the description for anyone who's interested. Give them a follow. Links will be in description for the musical as well as the channels of the animators who have brought you the lovely animatics you've been seeing on screen today. I'd like to thank all of you for joining us. Thank you, Steven, as well. Always a pleasure.
of course.
You've really brought the thunder this time. Actual Chad coming on 2 times for the same subject.
I can never get tired of Epic. It was going to be talked about no matter. I'll talk about it 5 more.
I was so disappointed like for you when it didn't work the first time. Like it's heartbreaking, but I'm actually quite pleased with this one. I hope you are too. It's been a blast, sir.
Honestly, same. This was a lot of fun. I definitely enjoyed this second act more than our like second act of the last time.
Yeah, our first attempt.
Yes.
Very well then. If no one has anything else to say, I think we will say good night.
And that's all. And goodbye.
Bye.